Chapter 442. Qing Yu felt ashamed and wanted to cover her face, but she had been seen clearly. She smiled awkwardly and said hello. Hi boss madam, you are? She pointed at them and looked at their clenched hands, implying something. Yes, we are together, Rong Rui said with a smile and raised his hand. Who is with you? Shameless. Qing Yu was annoyed and blushed, using her other hand to push his hand away. Let go. Rong Rui still did not move no matter how she grabbed and scratched. Looking at Li Xiqing, he asked, What are you doing in Dan City? How could Li Xiqing explain to him? He just glanced at Rong Rui and did not talk to him. Instead he looked at Qing Yu and said, Assistant Qing, I didn't expect you to have such a strong taste. Hearing that, Su Qianxi lowered her head and tried to hold back her laughter, reaching out and bumping Li Xiqing. Sure enough, Qing Yu's face suddenly became as red as a monkey's butt. This time she not only used her hands but also her feet. Kicking him hard, she finally opened her mouth and bit his hand. Rong Rui frowned in pain, but he still kept a smile on his face. He said to Su Qianxi and Li Xiqing, Excuse me. I will take her to solve a personal problem first. Qing Yu bit with all her strength. She tasted blood in her mouth, but Rong Rui did not let go. Hearing his words, Qing Yu suddenly felt a sense of crisis in her heart and was relieved. Su Qianxi saw the blood on Rong Rui's hand and felt a bit scared. Li Xiqing on the other hand looked at them with interest. Qing Yu's face was bitter and she shouted, Boss. Help me. Su Qianxi looked at Qing Yu, pulled the corner of Li Xiqing's clothes and said, Qing Yu will be okay, right? Will Rong Rui hit her? Li Xiqing was silent for a moment, watching Qing Yu being pulled away by Rong Rui. He frowned and said quietly, He will not hit her, but he may bite her back. No way. Su Qianxi was shocked and a little worried. Rong Rui is so ungentlemanly. Will he also bite her hand until it bleeds? Qing Yu's hands were very beautiful, slender, long, white and tender. If there was a scar because of this, what a pity. It won't bite. Li Xiqing curled his lips and put an arm around her waist. Sco. Father-in-law song is gone. If you don't bite the hand, where should you bite? Didn't you say bite me back? Su Qianxi was dumbfounded. Where do I like to bite you? Neck. She did not hesitate, but then she blushed. No way they develop so fast. Li Xiqing's smile widened as he tapped her nose and whispered, What are you thinking about? Go back. She blushed and couldn't help looking back at the place where Qing Yu was taken away. Rong Rui walked very fast and soon they were out of the scenic area and came to a wide flagstone road. On both sides of the road, there were close-ups of the local bronze statues. There were tourists coming and going, and when they saw a man forcefully dragging a woman along, many people looked over. Qing Yu's heart was pounding and she covered her face all the way. When she looked down and saw the teeth marks on his hand, she felt guilty and stammered, You deserve it. Who told you not to let go of me? Chapter 443. Seeing his unfriendly face, she blinked, looked away and looked up at the sky. It hurts. Rong Rui glanced at the bite marks on his hand. It was not a lot of blood. Along the way the blood had dried up, but it still hurt. Oh, you deserve it. Your mom saw it when I pulled you away. She stared at him and turned to look at him. How do you know? I saw it, Rong Rui said lightly. And she saw you holding my arm. Bah. I was biting you. But after saying that, she suddenly realized that when she bit him just now, his body didn't move much. Could it be? But in your mom's eyes you were hugging me and… Rong Rui glanced at the way they came and his lips curved. They have followed us. This alley was still some distance away from the scenic spot. Seeing that there was no one around, she looked around and did not find anyone. However, just as she looked around, a big hand suddenly reached over. Rong Rui pinched her chin, pushed her against the wall and kissed her. Her eyes widened and her heartbeat accelerated like crazy, as if it was about to jump out. An indescribable throbbing from the depths of her soul that had been empty for 26 years, burst out without warning, so turbulent and surging. Rong Rui gazed at her with his amber eyes. He hooked the tip of his tongue and went straight in, capturing the soft sweetness that he had tasted once and could never forget. Qing Yu's mother and sister caught up to them. When they saw the two figures stacked together from afar, they were overjoyed. She clapped her hands and turned around to show off to her sister. I knew it. Our Yu is so pretty. How could no one want her? She didn't tell us that she had a boyfriend. Today when this guy came to our house I knew that you had a boyfriend. Qing Yu's mother's sister looked envious. You don't say, this guy is quite handsome. Well, of course. Look at Yu's face. Qing Yu's mother was proud. Go. Don't bother them. Let's go play too. She was furious. Her face was almost flushed with anger. She lifted her foot and kicked at his leg. But no matter how hard he tried, Rong Rui didn't understand. Her hands were bent and she could not exert any strength at all. Instead, she was in so much pain that her eyes were filled with tears. Suddenly, she thought of a ruthless move. First, she closed her legs and then suddenly lifted her knee. A big hand held her knee and Rong Rui pressed it against her palm. His amber eyes were slightly blurred and his voice was a little hoarse. This is yours in the future. Are you sure you want to do this? Feeling that she was being molested, she screamed and struggled hard with both hands and one foot, but his strength was so great that she couldn't move. Rong Rui seemed to enjoy this feeling very much. He whispered, "Your face is so red." She was even more annoyed and wanted to bite his face. Rong Rui took a step back and avoided it. Then he released her knee and firmly pressed her down. His breathing was slightly rapid and his voice was hoarse and low. But damn it, she somehow felt a bit sexy. He said, "You have such good stamina. Why don't we go play something exciting? First 6 minutes, same rules, then in the afternoon." Moi. Chapter 444. What did he want to do? He wanted to take her to the hotel again? I'll stab your dead head. Qingyu was going crazy. This guy was a hooligan, a hooligan, a hooligan. Yet he was so good at acting, fooling her parents. You have so many dirty thoughts all day long. Why don't you go to hell? Tang Menjing is like this now. Shouldn't you have committed suicide long ago? People like you are an eyesore. Qingyu was a little speechless, full of anger with nowhere to vent. She was a little angry. Hearing her words, Rong Rui got dangerously closer to her and pinched her face again. Qingyu clearly felt his anger and her heart could not stop beating faster. She was a little scared. However, her pride and dignity did not allow her to bow down. She was Qingyu, the most powerful assistant of Li Xiqing. Why should she be threatened by a nobody like Rong Rui? Staring back, she tried to calm herself down. Rong Rui looked at her for a long time before saying, "I know, you came up with the idea and the hunter told me." What idea? Qingyu found that she had been scared by him and stuttered. She wanted to bite off her tongue, feeling very upset. The plan of the villa in Jiangzhou was planned by Li Xiqing and you improved it. Originally, Li Xiqing really wanted to give me to those bodyguards, but you stopped him, right? Qingyu heard the words, her pupils narrowed slightly and her eyes became a bit evasive. She said, "I just feel sorry for you. You were blinded by that bitch Tang Menjing. In the end you got nothing and are likely to be killed by her. That's too miserable. If those bodyguards really did something like that to me, then I'll really die." Rong Rui stroked her smooth white chin, extremely calm. No man will allow himself to be treated like this. I think it should be more unacceptable than you women being raped by a group of men. Yes, it was indeed miserable. Then the little chrysanthemum would become a sunflower. This. Qingyu felt horrified just thinking about the picture. So my life can be said to be saved by you, Rong Rui continued. Only then did she come to her senses. Her lips twitched and she said, "So, you are going to marry me?" "Yes, in the future, whether you admit it or not, I will be yours." When Qingyu heard that she seemed to have the upper hand, she immediately said with a serious face, "Since you know that I am your lifesaver, then you should quickly let me go now. Maybe I will let you be a bodyguard or something if I am happy. It is not right for you to treat your lifesaver like this, very wrong." Rong Rui ignored her and said calmly, "You gave me your first time. So what? Bah, it's just a layer of membrane. I don't care." Qingyu said with disdain. "But my first time was also given to you. I cherish my virginity." Qingyu heard the words and was angry. Virgin membrane. I've lived for so many years, but this is the first time I've heard of a man having a hymen. Who the hell are you trying to fool? Chapter 445. Qingyu heard the words and spat disdainfully. Bah. What else can there be except the urethra? I didn't expect you to be so good at biology. Of course, let me go. But how did your teacher teach you? Who said that a virgin has no hymen? How about we go back to the old place and review the whole process of breaking it? Qingyu was so angry that she wanted to bite him. This man, his skin was thicker than the wall and his mouth was slippery. With just a few words he had made her feel ashamed, and he was still talking nonsense with a straight face. Bah. Being pressed by him, she simply stopped struggling and asked, "You really don't want to let me go? In fact, I can let you go. How about we continue to press on in another place?" Qingyu was about to cry and whispered, "Grandpa, you are my grandpa, okay? In broad daylight, don't you know how to restrain yourself? This is my hometown and there are too many people who know me. If I am seen, how can I live in the future?" When Rong Rui heard this, he looked thoughtful and nodded. "That's true." Seeing his look, she immediately nodded. "You see, I am such a beautiful girl, and it is not appropriate for me to flirt with such a tall and handsome man like you." Rong Rui nodded in agreement and asked thoughtfully, "If you are seen and everyone says the same thing, will you never get married in this life?" Qingyu nodded hard. "You see, we are not a first-tier city like your hometown and Kingstown. There are only so many people. If this gets out, will anyone dare to marry me?" "I see, yes." Qingyu thought that she had finally convinced him and almost burst into tears. "So, Grandpa, please let me go, huh?" "Okay." Rong Rui finally let her go. She finally got her freedom. Rubbing her arms, she saw that her hands were bruised and felt unspeakably wronged. Her first reaction was to run, but Rong Rui was not so easy to fool. He directly grabbed her with his big hand and carried her back like a little chick. Ah. Didn't you say you would let me go? What are you doing?" "I said let you go, not let you go. Miss Qing, do you have a bad memory? Or do you have a problem with your ears?" Rong Rui looked indifferent, pulled her back and put his big hand directly on her waist. "Sco. Don't hug me." Qingyu slapped his hand. Rong Rui glanced at her. "If you don't want to hug me, then hug me." Then he directly picked her up. This, a Princess Carrie." She struggled hard and shouted, "You are a hooligan, do you know that? Rong Rui, I will F***ck you. I am your boss. You are welcome to F***ck me and I will never resist." He hugged her, although she was very naughty and succeeded in struggling several times. But Rong Rui was not willing to let her go. She was he. This woman was arrogant and wild. After all, he had not conquered her. Didn't he see how obedient she was in front of Li Xiqing? Rong Rui's eyes became more and more profound. After all, he had not conquered her. Didn't he see that she was so obedient in front of him? Rong Rui was very clear and his eyes became more and more profound. After a while they went out of the stone road and near the scenic spot. Chapter 446. She glared at him and reached out to cover his mouth. Her face was still buried and she gritted her teeth and growled, "Shut up." Rong Rui's mouth was covered. Especially when he looked down and saw her pink ears, he felt inexplicably refreshed. His mouth was tightly covered. He opened his mouth slightly, stuck out the tip of his tongue and hooked it on her palm. She froze and retracted her hand slightly. But immediately she felt that she had fallen into a trap and covered his mouth again. Rong Rui's tongue became more and more flexible, wantonly wandering around her palm. After a while she finally couldn't stand it anymore and retracted her hand. He wanted to strangle him. He laughed out loud and said in a low voice that only the two of them could hear, "I like to see you like this. If you are not happy, come and F***ck me." She reached out and pinched his chest fiercely. Her two fingers pinched very, very tightly. He gasped in pain and his face was twisted, but he still shouted, "Qingyu, don't touch me. It's not good to do that in public." "Shut up." She couldn't bear it anymore and struggled hard. "Bastard, let me down." "Qingyu." That man just called her Qingyu, right? Hey, that does look a bit like Qingyu. Look at that short hair. It turns out that Sister Qingyu is so open-minded. Look at that princess hug, so romantic. Qingyu felt so embarrassed, let go of him and growled, "Are you going to let me go or not? I will call for help. Then we will be embarrassed together." "Well, I'll let you go." Rong Rui was unexpectedly easy to talk to and directly put her down. Qingyu was a little confused, but seeing the surprised eyes of her juniors not far away, she wanted to find a hole to hide in. She stretched out her foot and kicked Rong Rui. She was so angry that she ran away. Rong Rui was in pain. He frowned and took a deep breath. He turned his head and said to those juniors, throwing a tantrum again like a child. Then he chased in the direction of Qingyu. The eyes of the juniors were red. Qingyu's boyfriend is so handsome. So gentle, so spoiled. Alas, different people have different fates. She had never been so embarrassed. Since young, when had he not been pampered in the palm of his hand? Her parents were the same, her classmates were the same, and she was the same in the company. She had a high EQ, was diligent and sensible. Since she was young, she had been surrounded by stars and was a dazzling existence. It was the first time she had encountered such a situation. How shameful, how shameful. The more she thought about it, the more she felt wronged. As she ran, she cried in a low voice. Rong Rue's legs were much longer than hers. He ran up and grabbed her hand. Hey. But as soon as Qingyu turned her face, he clearly saw her red eyes. Don't touch me. Qingyu was furious and shook his hand off. Seeing that she was crying, Rong Rue felt a little strange. He raised his hands and made a gesture of surrender. Not knowing whether to laugh or cry, he said, "It was just a joke. Are you really angry?" Qingyu did not answer him but left him and strode away. Rong Rue followed her unhurriedly. Watching her enter the public women's restroom, he immediately stopped and waited for her outside. The toilet in the scenic spot smelled very strong. Rong Rue did not know how long he stood there. It was half an hour or 40 minutes, but she did not come out. Finally, after a woman walked in, he asked her to help him find Qingyu. The woman looked at him strangely and said, "Young man, there is a back door in the women's restroom." Wan Lily, "Miss Qing, how does it feel to be pursued like this?" Qingyu, "Have you ever been bitten by a dog while walking on the road and then being licked by it?" Chapter 447. The implication was that Qingyu had already run away. Hearing that, Rong Rue was dazed for a moment, then smiled helplessly. This woman, Song Yifan, offered to let them stay at home and take them out to play tomorrow. Li Xiqing originally did not intend to agree, but seeing Su Qianxi's tired look, his heart softened and he agreed. However, he did not stay at home. Instead, he drove to the 5-star hotel that he had just seen. Handing the car to the doorman, Li Xiqing took Su Qianxi to the hotel and booked a suite. As soon as they entered, Su Qianxi took off her shoes and socks. Without washing her face or feet, she directly lay down and fell asleep. Li Xiqing had no choice but to take off her thick clothes and put her flat on the bed. He heard that when pregnant women were more than a month pregnant, they would vomit a lot. He had not seen what other pregnant women were like, but this woman only vomited a few times on the way to Dan City. Other times, except for being a little sleepy, she seemed to be no different from usual. It was time to eat and drink. She would eat whatever he ate and she would not be particularly picky. After helping her, Li Xiqing went to the bathroom to take a shower. He asked the room service to send his clothes for dry cleaning and put on the hotel's sterilized silk robe. After dealing with everything and returning to the room, he found that his phone was ringing, but Su Qianxi was still unmoved and sleeping soundly. Unable to help curling his lips, Li Xiqing picked up the phone. It was Luo Zhan. "Hello, Xiqing. Well, you found it." "Yes, I found it. This woman's surname is Yang and her name is Yang Rongshuan. Because she is a tutor-level staff of the Capital Art Center, it is very easy to find her. What is more interesting is that this guy seems to be related to Tang Minjing's gunman. Guess what their relationship is?" "You mean Rong Rue?" "Yes, that guy. Rong Rue has an uncle named Rong Haiyue, a major general like your father. This young Rongshuan is Rong Haiyue's wife. They have a daughter together named Rong Anna." "Rong Haiyue's wife." Li Xiqing frowned deeply. "Is there any problem? Can you find out more about what Yang Rongshuan used to do? It is best to find out more than 20 years ago." Why are you digging so deep?" Luo Zhan asked, and then he thought of something. "You suspect that she is your biological mother?" "Yes." "I see. I will try, but I can only check what is recorded on the internet. You still have to wait until after the new year to find a professional to check." "Well, I know, thank you." Luo Zhan was speechless. How could Li Xiqing say something like that? "When will you go back to Kingstown?" "O Ming said that he was going to throw a birthday party for his woman and asked us to all go." "What does his woman's birthday party have to do with me?" "The show?" Su asked. Li and said. "Ming, Su I Xian, that woman O Ming rarely has a good relationship with anyone. Isn't it the same for your woman? She should at least support someone, right?" "They got it." Chapter 448. Qingyu. Li Xiqing raised his eyebrows slightly and seemed to have guessed something. Luo Zhan coughed again, his cheeks slightly red and his eyes drifted away. Yes, after all, it's a birthday party. Of course, the more people the better. Special Assistant Qing Yu is smart and beautiful. She can definitely liven up the atmosphere, don't you think? Give up. You can't get her at all. Luo Zhan for women could chat and be friends, but when it came to dating, he was not on the same level as Rong Rui. How could he compete? But Luo Zhan was not convinced and asked, "What? Is Qing Yu so difficult to get? And I am not bad looking. Although I am a bit of a homebody, at least I am a clean and handsome guy. Why can't I get her? He seems to be taken." Who? Rong Rui. Rong Rui again. Luo Zhan slammed the table and roared, "This guy is deliberately going against me, right? The first 2 times we fought he did not gain any advantage. Now even a woman wants to compete with me. Damn." Li Xiqing was silent for a moment and asked with a slight playfulness, "You have worked with Qing Yu for so long before. Did you have any feelings?" Luo Zhan's voice stopped, and he was unable to restrain his rage as he quibbled. "That's because I didn't have that thought. If I had this thought a little earlier, then with my charm, I would have crushed her beneath my fingers sooner or later." Luo Zhan clearly heard the sound of snorting on the other side of the phone. Obviously, Li Xiqing laughed. "Hey, are you my brother? Why are you siding with an outsider? I don't care. You have to bring Qing Yu over to me or I will not work for you in the future. Let's see what you can do." Li Xiqing raised an eyebrow, but he was not angry. He asked, "Are you threatening me?" Luo Zhan was a bit scared. To be honest, if he did not work for him, it was actually Luo Zhan who would suffer. But in this situation he could not soften. So Luo Zhan bit the bullet and said, "Yes, I am threatening you. Anyway, you bring Qing Yu over to me." "Okay, I'll try my best," Li Xiqing responded, obviously in a good mood. Luo Zhan was about to breathe a sigh of relief, and then Li Xiqing said, "I won't transfer the money to you this time. We'll offset each other. Go and check on Rong Xian." F***CK. Luo Zhan panicked. What a profiteer. Before she finished, Li Xiqing had already hung up. While the evil capitalist, Luo Zhan moved the mouse and searched for information fiercely, but the more he thought about it, the angrier he got. Why is Rong Rui always against me? Is Qing Yu blind? Ha. Qing Yu was sitting on the sofa in pajamas watching a variety show, happily peeling sugar oranges and laughing her head off. Suddenly she sneezed and rubbed her nose. Damn, who is scolding me on New Year's Day? As soon as she murmured, she heard her phone ring. It was Mrs. Cheng. "Hey you, I'm downstairs." "Ouch, I just fell when I was walking. It hurts." Qing Yu was shocked and sat up from the sofa. She quickly put on the cotton slippers and ran outside. "Mom, hold on. I'll be right there." Qing Yu's home was on the 2nd floor, but when she went downstairs and wandered around, she did not see Mrs. Cheng. Chapter 449. Qing Yu's heart was beating like thunder. At this moment, a figure came from afar. He was wearing a dark blue down jacket and his footsteps looked steady and calm. It was none other than Rong Rui. When she saw him, she immediately turned her head and ran up to the 2nd floor. However, when she went downstairs, the door was not closed. Now that she came back, it was locked tightly. The phone suddenly rang. It was the landline at home. She immediately picked it up. She was gasping for breath. I'm going to spend some alone time with your father today. It's not convenient for you to be here. You can find a place to stay outside. So, Mommy loves you. Mwah. After saying that, the busy tone of the phone was heard. Qing Yu was dumbfounded. Didn't she say she fell down? Didn't she say she was injured? What the hell is a 2-person world? Where did you learn to kiss? Hearing the calm and gentle footsteps behind her, she finally understood that she had been sold. Damn. Qing Yu kicked the door hard. Qing Zhanxiong Wang Chunhua, open the door for me. How can you sell your daughter like this? You are heartless and unjust. You are selling your daughter for glory. Uncle Wang next door opened the door, looked over and teased, "You quarreling with your parents again?" Qing Yu was so angry that she gasped. Hearing Uncle Wang's words, she calmed down and shook her head. "No, Uncle Wang, you should rest." "Hey, is this your boyfriend?" Uncle Wang pointed to Rong Rui behind her. Before she answered, Rong Rui took over the conversation, nodded and said, "Yes." "Oh, he is so good looking. Perfect for you. You should also rest early. Good night." Qing Yu quickly explained, You misunderstood. Good night, Uncle Wang. Rong Rui interrupted her directly and said to Uncle Wang. Qingyu was so angry that she kicked him hard. However, she was wearing a pair of cotton slippers, so the kicks did not hurt him. Rong Rui ignored her behavior and said calmly, Your mom asked me to take care of you, so I came. Take care of you? Okay, come back to the capital with me. I will give you this opportunity. Go away. I don't want to see you. Rong Rui, why are you so annoying? But I really want to see you. I've already said that I'm yours. I'll always be yours. Bah. I don't want it. That won't do. You want to leave after eating? How can there be such a good thing? At the very least, you have to take responsibility, right? I said I don't want you to take responsibility. But I want you to be responsible. Rong Rui looked at her, feeling wronged. I'm a noble man. I gave my first time to you and you want to leave? This is too wishful thinking. If this gets out, how am I going to live? Get lost. She had never hated a person so much. If she had known that he was such a clingy character, she would not have been with him no matter how much she wanted to. Now she regretted it so much. Rong Rui stopped talking. He glanced at her thin pajamas and asked, Not cold? It's none of your business. Get lost. He took off his coat and wanted to help her put it on, but she subconsciously took a step back, which made all his actions stop abruptly. Chapter 450. She is my mother, not yours. Get out. Qingyu never realized that her temper was so bad. She kept telling him to get out. If he did not come, he would have beaten her to death. Seeing that he really left, she pouted, threw the coat into the trash can, turned around and began to press the doorbell frantically. After a few minutes, there was still no sign of opening the door. However, the temperature was getting lower and lower. Qingyu did not feel it before, but now she only felt cold all over, making her shiver. Her eyes fell on the coat in the trash can. The garbage bag was new and should have just been changed. There was nothing inside. When she was hesitating whether to pick it up or not, the door next door opened. Carrying 2 garbage bags, he threw them directly, then looked at her strangely, turned around and left. Qingyu wanted to cry, but there were no tears. He finally realized what it meant to die. She turned around and continued to press the doorbell. She was so cold that she could only shiver. She shouted in a trembling voice, Mom, my good mom, do a good deed and open the door for your daughter. No response. Qingyu continued to shout, Dad, my good dad, I am your daughter. Even you don't want me anymore? Her father's heart was sour and he almost couldn't help but get up and open the door for her. However, seeing the warning look from her mother, he finally calmed down. Am I really your biological child or not? Why are you doing this to me? I will freeze to death. No response. Qingyu's nose was red from the cold and her nose was running. Holding her arms, she walked to the stairs and sat down, staring at the door. His eyes were fixed on the door. However, after several minutes, there was still no movement from the door. What the hell? Qingyu stood up irritably and went downstairs. There was a 24-hour convenience store at the entrance of the community. Qingyu asked for a cup of hot coffee. When she was about to pay with her mobile phone, she pressed the button and found that there was only 1% battery left. Her eyes widened and she shouted, Hurry up, there is no battery. The waiter quickly handed over the scanner, but it was still a step too late. Shiba. Qingyu was going crazy. She slammed the phone on the table, scaring the waiter. How much is the coffee? A calm, low male voice sounded behind her and she immediately looked back. It was him. Well, are you talking about this lady? Yes. 16 yuan. He gave her the cash and found that she was staring at him. He chuckled helplessly and glanced at her outfit. Where is the coat I gave you? I lost it. Taking the coffee and the phone, she found a warm place to sit down and said, I will pay you back for the coffee and the coat. How much is it? Rong Rui did not answer. Instead, he took off the scarf around his neck and shook it gently, turning it into a shawl. Qingyu looked at it and blinked. Rong Rui draped the big scarf over her. His movements were not big, as if he was carefully testing her. She did not refuse and let him put it on her, curling up comfortably. Much warmer. The scarf was full of his scent. She drank her coffee, bowed her head and said, I will give you money for this too. How much is it? Chapter 451. Qingyu knew what he wanted. Hearing his words, she inexplicably felt a little humiliated. Did he think that she would sleep with him for a cup of coffee, a coat, and a scarf? Qingyu put the cup on the table, pulled off the scarf on her body and threw it back at him. Then she picked up the coffee and walked to the cashier. Qingyu smiled and said, "Hello, I am a resident in room 203 above. My name is Qingyu. I used to order delivery here. I don't have any money with me now. Can I?" "Enough." Rong Rui strode over and pulled her hand. "Are you done? Come with me." Qingyu was caught off guard. Half of the cup of coffee also shook and spilled on her hand. The hot liquid made her gasp. He also knew that he had made a big move, but the anger in his heart was burning more and more fiercely. What did she think of him? He was clearly in front of her and she could rely on him. How could she think of borrowing money from a girl she didn't know? Reaching out and pulling out a pack of tissues on the counter, he took down the coffee in her hand and took out a tissue to wipe it for her. Qingyu shook him off, stared at him and strode out of the convenience store. This was simply the worst luck of 8 lifetimes. If it weren't for him, she should now be at home watching TV comfortably. How could she be driven out by her parents like this? He took out a bill, slapped it on the cashier without looking at it for a long time, and then directly chased after her. It was windy outside. Qingyu was only wearing a long-sleeved lavender pajamas. Being blown by the cold wind, she shivered and folded her arms. Rong Rui was behind her, wrapping the scarf around her without any explanation. Then he took off his sweater, grabbed it and put it on her. Qingyu was a little hurt by his rough movements and shouted, "What are you doing?" He did not speak but directly pulled her hand up and put it on the sleeves of the sweater. After that he pulled off the scarf on her body and put it around her neck. Perhaps it was because of the pain or the grievance that she had been holding back all night. She inexplicably felt a lump in her throat. Holding her hand, Rong Rui walked in front of her quickly. She couldn't keep up with him and stumbled, dropping a cotton shoe. "My shoes!" she shouted. He stopped and found that she didn't even wear socks. Rong Rui's anger surged for no reason as he roared, "What the hell are you doing? You don't even wear socks. Are you hiding them to eat?" Qingyu was inexplicably yelled at. She was so angry that she couldn't breathe. She shouted back, "What the fuck are you yelling at? What's so great about wearing socks? Try one. That king retard. Let go." Rong Rui's hand was thrown away and he saw her go back to pick up the shoes. Under the cold wind, his thin and small body was covered with a large sweater. He was wearing clothes that fit him perfectly, but it reached the center of her thighs. It looked funny and cute. All the anger in his heart had disappeared. She didn't want to see him, so she put on her shoes and walked in the opposite direction of him. Feeling helpless, Rong Rui shouted, "Hey!" Chapter 452. She stopped, flushed with anger, walked quickly toward him and reached out to untie her scarf. He was only wearing a black shirt which outlined his figure. It was very nice. But in this cold wind it was a little thin. She threw the scarf away and reached out to take off her sweater, but he held her in his arms. "What's the hurry? Take it off later." "Take it off later." She was so embarrassed that she twisted her body. "Don't touch me, don't touch me." But no matter how she struggled, he did not let go. She was furious and took the opportunity to slap him in the face. Rong Rui was slapped hard in the face. He was stunned for a moment and then his face fell. It was not very painful, but it was the first time in his life to be slapped by a woman. She saw his face change and was shocked. Before she could react, she was carried by him and walked to the side of the road. "Hey, what do you want?" He did not answer, reached out to stop an empty taxi, opened the back seat, threw her in and sat down. "To Yijing Bay." "Rong." He turned his head and looked at her. There was anger on his face, but he was unspeakably calm. His voice was low and hoarse. "Do you want to sleep on the street? Or sleep on the stairs? Or, do you think your mom will open the door for you, or do you think the little girl in the convenience store will lend you money to stay in a hotel?" He said with certainty, and she was speechless for a while. "Now behave yourself. I'll get another room for you to stay in tonight." Qingyu opened her mouth, but in the end she didn't say a word and sat down. However, it was cold. There was no heater in the taxi and she was shivering. The pajamas were too thin and she only had a thin pair of pajama pants. However, when she saw the unlined shirt on him, she pretended to be calm. He glanced at her and reached out to pull her over. She was shocked, subconsciously curled up her hands and exclaimed, "What are you doing? Cold." He hugged her and said confidently, "My clothes are all worn by you and now I'm freezing to death." She did not make a sound, moved a little and wanted to get up. "Don't move. Lean together and keep warm." Indeed, it was much warmer. In less than 15 minutes the car stopped in front of Yijing Bay. Rong-Rui took her up the stairs. When they reached the cashier, he took out his wallet and ID card to check in. However, after the cashier entered his identity information, she smiled politely. "Sir, your ID card has already been used for a room. You can check in directly." I gave it to her. "Can this lady please show me her ID?" "No ID, ran away from home, very pitiful." "Then I can't help you get a room." "Are you a couple?" "Yes." "No." The two of them spoke in unison. The cashier smiled. "So, please provide us your ID number. We will verify your identity online. After confirming it, you can stay in the same room as this gentleman." "ID number, tell her." Qing Yu stomped her feet and said, "I'm going home." He pulled her back and said, "I booked a king-size room, enough for 2 people. However, she was not just disgusted by this. "Wan Lily, oh, the little white rabbit is in the wolf's den. Can't you see that?" Chapter 453. But, no buts. It's a 2-meter bed. You sleep 1 meter and I sleep 1 meter. Is that enough?" Qing Yu clearly saw the smiles on the faces of the cashiers. No matter how thick-skinned she was, she couldn't help but blush. She read out the ID number. After the cashier checked it, she invited them to check in. Inside the room, Rong-Rui went directly to the bathroom. After a while, the sound of running water came out. Qing Yu's heart was beating fast and she couldn't help but be nervous. He went to take a shower. However, what about her? Did she have to take a shower too? She struggled, took off his sweater, folded it and put it on the chair. The air conditioner was turned on in the room and the temperature was very high. She felt comfortable and warm all over. Charging the phone first, she glanced at the side of the bed and saw the shameful warm reminder. "There are safety products in the drawer." Seeing these words, her face was a little red. There were a few bottles of mineral water on the table in the room. Qing Yu unscrewed one of the bottles and drank half of it. Just when she stopped, she heard the sound of the water in the bathroom stopping. She was shocked, quickly screwed the cap, went to the counter, picked up her phone and turned it on, pretending to play with it. However, the phone could not be turned on. She pressed the power button hard, but there was no response for a long time. She remembered that when she was in the convenience store, she slapped the phone hard. No way, the quality was so bad. The bathroom door was opened and her back was stiff. Her heart was beating as fast as a motor. Rong-Rui came out wearing a beige checkered pajamas. Obviously it was his own. He was drying his hair with a towel in his hand. Seeing her back to him, he shouted, "Hey, go take a shower." "I don't want to. I have no clothes to wear." Qing Yu's face was hot and her voice was a little stuttering. "You are so dirty and you smell." "No way." She stood up, turned to look at him and raised her head confidently. "I just took a shower at home." "I don't want to." "Then you sleep on the floor." "If you don't take a shower, I won't sleep with you." Rong-Rui dried his hair and sat on the bed. "I'll sleep on the floor. I can't get up." "Who wants to sleep with him?" "Shameless." She pursed her lips and sat down on the carpet, fiddling with her phone in her hands. After a long silence, Rong-Rui said, "Hey, I was joking." She ignored him. "Come on up, the floor is filthy." She still ignored him. Rong-Rui sighed, got up and lifted her up under her armpits. She exclaimed. When she came back to her senses, she had been thrown onto the bed and the big bed shook gently. Rong-Rui lifted the quilt and covered her. "Sleep well." Her face was covered and she was a little annoyed. "Are you king sick? Don't you know this will scare me to death?" Rong-Rui did not speak. He took down the quilt, spread it and lay down. She lay on the edge of the corner, folded her arms and only covered a corner of the quilt, for fear that he would suddenly attack. "Why are you hiding so far away? I'm not going to eat you. Come closer." Chapter 454. Su Qinxi slept very soundly. Being held by him, she suddenly giggled in her sleep. Li Xiqing was looking for information on his mobile phone. Hearing her sudden laughter, he couldn't help but laugh too. Su Qinxi was woken up by her own laughter. Opening her eyes and realizing her posture, the smile on her face was even wider. She put her arms around his waist and shrank into his chest. What did you dream of? Li Xiqing threw the phone aside, held her and whispered, Why are you laughing so happily? Su Qianxi laughed even more and snuggled in his arms. She said, I dreamed that I had a pair of twins, a boy and a girl, but you only liked to hold the girl and the boy climbed on your head to poop. Li Xiqing heard that, tapped her nose and whispered, Then I will spank his little butt. The little guy is too bad. But after saying that, he inexplicably felt that it might come true. Looking down at her belly, he stroked it with his big palm and said helplessly, Why is it only a little more than a month? Yes, why is it only a little more than a month? Time passes so slowly. Su Qianxi also touched her belly. It was very flat. If she did not look closely, she would not find that it was a little higher than usual. When will it be 3 months? It's so hard. Su Qianxi was speechless and punched him. Can't you think of something else? Li Xiqing smiled, grabbed her hand, stretched out his leg and pressed it on her leg. His voice was low and mellow with a bit of a smile. Of course I want to have 2 boys and 1 girl. I want to train the 2 sons to be the guardians of our daughter. Do you really like girls? I like whatever you give birth to. How about boys compared to girls? Girls. Li Xiqing did not hesitate. They will definitely be like you. But I want to have a boy like you. A boy can have 2. What about family planning? Let them find me. I'm not afraid. Su Qianxi chuckled. This was what it meant to be rich. Aren't you tired? You drove for so long today and walked for so long. Not tired. Right, I found out about Rongxian. Li Xiqing repeated what Luo Zhan had just told him to her. Su Qianxi was stunned. Yang Rongshuan? Yes, that's why father-in-law Song couldn't find any news of her all these years. It's not that she is dead, but that she has changed her identity and she is Rong Haiyue's wife. With the power of Song and lawyer Xing, they can't find out anything about him. Her eyes widened. No way. Rong Haiyue's wife is Rong Xian? Well, I can't be sure of their exact relationship. On the 6th day of the new year, I'll take you to the imperial capital to thank them. While we're at it, we can also ask them. He had wanted to thank him for a long time. After all, her life was saved by Rong Haiyue. However, such a piece of news was no different from a heavy bomb to her. Song Yifan was not her biological father, and Rong Haiyue was Rong Xian's husband. Don't think too much. Li Xiqing stroked her face. The possibility is very small. Rong Haiyue will not let his own flesh and blood wander outside. Now sleep. She pouted. How do you know what I'm thinking? Chapter 455. Okay. She closed her eyes obediently, but she couldn't fall asleep. Looking up, she saw a pair of deep dark eyes. She pursed her lips, looked up and kissed him. Good night. A good night kiss is not like this. He held her head and kissed her lips. The kiss deepened and became extremely gentle. She put her hands on his back and held him in an intoxicated way. In the end she gasped. Blushing, she lowered her head and did not dare to move. He held her, slightly curled his lips and closed his eyes. In the other room of Yijing Bay, he pulled her to the middle and covered her with the quilt. Then he turned off the light and did not move again. She quietly moved to the side, her back stiff, and did not dare to move. Until she heard the even breathing sound next to her, she breathed a sigh of relief. It was so exciting. Quietly getting up, she groped in the dark to find the bottle of mineral water she had just drunk. Her eyesight was very good during the day, but at night, she was night blind. It was dark everywhere. She leaned against the wall to find the table, but in a moment of carelessness, her toes were knocked down by the edge of the carpet and she fell forward. The sound of her fall was very loud in this quiet night. She almost cried out, covered her mouth and quickly got up from the ground, looking behind her. Although she could not see anything, he should not be awake, right? Feeling her way to the table, she finally found the mineral water. She picked up the bottles one by one, picked up the lightest one and drank it all up. Going back, she subconsciously avoided the bulge this time and reached out to the edge of the bed. Carefully, however, just as she went around to the position she had just slept and was about to climb up, her hand touched a warm body. She was shocked and immediately withdrew her hand, but at the same time, a big hand pulled her down. She exclaimed and her whole body was lifted up. When she came back to her senses, she had already been hugged tightly. Rongrui. Qingyu growled, but the people over there did not respond. She suddenly remembered what he had warned her when he had just been imprisoned by Li Xiqing. I have sleepwalking. You better not be here. Otherwise, even if I kill you, I won't be punished for it. Su Qianxi was shocked. Can't be, right? Was this guy sleepwalking now? His breathing was still very even. She moved a little and found that she couldn't move at all. Hey, let go. She was a little scared. It was the first time in her life that she had seen a sleepwalker, and the sleepwalker was now lying with her. It was too dangerous. What if he was killed in the middle of his sleep? Her heart pounding, she lifted his hand and moved it away. But Rongrui moved, moaned, and buried his head. Unfortunately, it was on her chest. As if struck by lightning, Qingyu writhed and struggled frantically, shouting, "Pervert! Get lost!" So what if you're sleepwalking? Be careful that I don't castrate you. Sleepwalking. Chapter 456. Being pushed away, Rongrui was a little sleepy. He opened his eyes and seemed a little annoyed. What? It's the middle of the night. Can't you let me sleep? She was stunned by his words, but then she kicked him angrily and roared, "You bastard!" Rongrui looked innocent and shouted, "What's wrong with me? I was sleeping well and was woken up by you. Why did you kick me? I'm so wronged." "Bah. I think you did it on purpose. You know what you just did. What did I do to you? You hugged me. So what? It's not like I haven't hugged you before." And then, she paused and asked, "How do you know there was then? You did it on purpose, didn't you? It's not like you haven't hugged me before. You won't be so pretentious." She paused and didn't know what to say for a while. She wouldn't be so pretentious. Was this sentence a compliment or a derogatory one? And then you buried your head in her chest. However, she couldn't say it out loud. Pulling the quilt, she turned her back and decided to ignore him. Rongrui secretly smiled but pretended to be annoyed. Ridiculous. About 10 minutes later, she slowly fell asleep. Rongrui turned around, sneaked close and reached out to touch her waist. She moaned, turned over and continued to sleep. Seeing her turn over, Rongrui gently leaned over and reached out to hold her in his arms. Gently, he wanted to sleepwalk so badly. But Rongrui still resisted. "Take it slow." She didn't realize that she had been half-hugged and slept until dawn. When she woke up, she opened her eyes and saw the beige plaid pajamas. Her eyes widened and she pushed him hard. She immediately sat up and lifted the quilt to look at herself. Fortunately, Rongrui couldn't help laughing, but he quickly hid his smile. He got up and threw a paper bag on the chair to her. He was shocked. When she took it, she found that it was a set of clothes. From inside to outside, from big to small. She glanced at the bra and found that the size was exactly the same. Where did it come from? And the size was quite suitable. I called someone to send it over. The size should be okay. Try it on. Rongrui yawned. Seeing her slightly surprised look, he explained, "The waiter asked me how big your underwear should be. I don't know much about this kind of size, so I gestured. About this size." As he spoke, he arched his fingers into a semicircle and grabbed at the air. She suddenly blushed, picked up a pillow and threw it at him, roaring, "Get out." Su Qianxi slept until dawn, but when she woke up she felt a bit nauseous. He rushed to the toilet and retched twice, but nothing came out. He followed and patted her back, asking in a low voice, "Are you uncomfortable?" She waved her hand and quickly pushed him out. After the couple freshened up, they were ready to go downstairs for breakfast. When Su Qianxi just went out the door, she saw Qingyu and Rongrui coming from the back corridor. When Qingyu saw her, she immediately turned around and covered her face. Chapter 457. Qingyu's face was wrinkled and she squeezed out a smile. Turning her head, she shouted, "Hi madam, it's his first time in Dan City. I'm here to be his tour guide, ha ha ha." "Oh? Is that so?" Su Qianxi pursed her lips and chuckled. "Of course, ha, don't you think so?" Qingyu smiled brightly, looking at Rongrui with a pair of threatening eyes. Rongrui nodded calmly. "Yes, last night we were all very comfortable." Qingyu's expression changed and she smiled awkwardly. "Mr. Rong, be careful what you say." Although she was smiling, her other hand was already pinching his waist from behind. Rong Rue frowned, looking innocent, and said with a forced smile, "Did I say something wrong? I did not expect that you and Mr. Rong have such a good relationship." Li Xiqing came out holding Su Qianxi's small bag. Su Qianxi took the bag and put it on her shoulder. She reached out and took Qingyu's hand, saying, "Let's go and have breakfast together." Qingyu wanted to stay away from Rong Rue and quickly followed Su Qianxi. However, Rong Rue asked the waiter to buy the shoes for her. They were a little small and her toes hurt when she walked. Li Xiqing and Rong Rue walked behind. Rong Rue crossed his arms and said, "When are you going back to Kingstown?" "Tonight. Your supercar seems to be a modified four-seater." Li Xiqing seemed to have guessed what he wanted to do. He smiled and said, "Alone?" "And Qingyu?" "Yes." In front of them, Su Qianxi had taken Qingyu to find a place to sit down and began to order with a napkin. Soon tea was served and food was ordered. Li Xiqing told Qingyu about Yu Lily's birthday. Qingyu drank the tea and said without hesitation, "Okay, when?" "The night after tomorrow," Li Xiqing said quietly and took his wife's teacup. "Don't drink tea. Drink water." Su Qianxi pouted, but she could only take a glass of water and watch them drink the mellow Tiguanyin tea. "So soon?" Qingyu felt a little surprised and counted with her fingers. "The 5th day of the new year?" "Yes." As they spoke, the dishes were served one after another. He picked up a Xilong bao for her, dipped it in vinegar and put it in her bowl. "Be careful of the soup. It's very hot." "Oh." She blew on it and took a small bite. Rong Rue listened to them and did not speak, but his eyes had become deep. His amber pupils were full of meaning. He seemed to casually pick up a bun for himself and said, "They are going back to Kingstown tonight. Let's go together, Qingyu." "I'm afraid my mom won't let me go back so soon. I'll go back and ask later." If Qingyu proposed it herself, Qingyu's mother would not agree, but if Rong Rue proposed it, the outcome would be different. Rong Rue knew that and did not say anything. He asked, "Shall we meet here tonight?" "Sure." Li Xiqing slowly took a bite of the bun and said. Su Qianxi finished the soup dumpling and picked up a glutinous rice chicken with her chopsticks. She said, "Later we will go back to my father's place. Does Assistant Qing also live nearby? We can go together." Qingyu couldn't have asked for more. "Thank you, madam." Chapter 458. After eating, Li Xiqing drove them to the place where they met Rong Rue yesterday. After dropping them off, he took his wife to park the car. She was wearing shoes that did not fit her feet and her walking posture was a bit weird. He stumbled toward the door. Feeling that Rong Rue had been following her, she felt very disgusted. She turned around, looked at him and said impolitely, "Buy clothes and shoes as well as last night's clothes, coffee, room and fare. Make a list. How much is it in total? I will pay you and we are even, okay?" Rong Rue heard that and raised his eyebrows. Seeing that she wanted to cut ties with him immediately, he clenched his fists. "Forget it. What is your account number? I will send you the money directly to save you the trouble." She put her hand in her pocket and her tone was a bit impatient and strange. "You can pay for that, but you can't pay for my virginity. This is also my first time and you are so good at it. Why are you pretending to be stupid? Society is so messy, and you are so devoted to that B*Tang. Who knows you?" Before she finished, she was pressed against the wall behind her, startled, and her voice immediately stopped. Rong Rue's eyes were filled with anger. A pair of amber eyes stared at her as if he wanted to tear her into pieces. Seeing him like this, she was a bit frightened. But after all, she was a person who had seen a lot. She sneered, and her almond-shaped eyes were full of sarcasm. "Why, can't I say that about B*Tang? Now you are both unmarried. Isn't it perfect for you? A**Tfich, A**Tfich, and a little B** starred. It's a match made in heaven." Rong Rue sealed her lips with great force and her lips were squeezed painfully. The kiss this time was different from all the previous ones. Rough, violent, and venting like a wolf gnawing without any technique or mercy. Rong Rue was angry and he was venting. That was all. She was clearly aware of his emotions and struggled with her hands and feet. But Rong Rue always pressed her shoulders. No matter how she struggled, she could not move. He bit her lips hard and she frowned in pain. She tilted her head and slightly moved away. At the place where their lips met, a drop of liquid dripped onto her hand. She gasped, and the sweet taste filled her mouth. Slowly the liquid flowed down her lips. She reached out and a touch of red was on it. Seeing the blood on her lips, Rong Rui calmed down. He reached out and gently rubbed the blood on her lips, but she turned her head and looked at him coldly. "Qingyu, listen, ba." Qingyu spat, and the blood gushing from her lips sprayed all over his face. "Pervert." Rong Rui closed his eyes and wiped his face. A few streaks of blood immediately appeared on his face. She pushed him away with all her strength, sneered, and then ran away. Rong Rui looked at her from behind. His clenched fists tightened and loosened and tightened again. Finally, his fists drooped in defeat. She had no money or keys. When she arrived at the door, she pressed the doorbell desperately. After a few minutes, someone came out to open the door. Chapter 459. Hearing her mother's words, Qingyu sneered, walked into the room with a gloomy face and warned, "If something like last night happens again, Mrs. Qing, let's break off the relationship." As he spoke, he slammed the door hard, making a bang sound. Qingyu's mother suddenly felt that something was wrong and immediately called Rong Rui to ask about the situation. In the evening, after dinner, Li Xiqing's car was waiting at the gate of Yijing Bay. Rong Rui got out, but Qingyu did not come. It was not because Qingyu's mother refused, but because Qingyu did not want to see Rong Rui. She was afraid that she hated him more than before. Rong Rui was well aware of that, so when Qingyu's mother called him, he did not say anything that he should not. When he returned to Kingstown, it was already past 10 p.m. After saying goodbye to Rong Rui, Li Xiqing drove directly back to the old house. However, he never expected that as soon as he got home he was greeted with a big fight. "Bastard! If your boss did not call me, I would not know about it." Su Qianxi just entered the door and heard Li Zhao's angry voice, so she quickly ran in. The voice came from the study. Su Qianxi ran in and saw Li Jinan kneeling on the ground with his head down. Holding the whip in his hand, Li Xiao looked very angry. "You've grown up, haven't you? Li Jinan, you are only 25 years old. You have such a bright future. How many people can become a major at such a young age?" Then he was about to hit him with the whip. Su Qianxi was scared and quickly shouted, "Dad." The whip was as thick as 2 fingers. If she hit him like that, his skin would definitely be torn. Li Xiao saw Su Qianxi coming in and his expression softened a bit. He asked, "Where is Xiqing?" Just then Li Xiqing came in and saw the scene inside. He gently pulled Su Qianxi and said, "Go to sleep first." Su Qianxi turned her head and glanced into the study, hesitating. "It's okay. Let's go." Li Xiqing took her into the room. Although Su Qianxi was anxious, she also knew that this was not something she could get involved in. After the shower, Su Qianxi tossed and turned in bed for a long time before Li Xiqing came in. "How is it?" she asked. Li Xiqing walked over, sat on the edge of the bed and gently shook his head. "It's just a few lashes. He has been sent to the hospital. His physique is stronger than mine. He will be fine." Su Qianxi vaguely felt that it should be more than a few whips, but when she heard that she was still relieved and said, "Such a thick whip can kill someone. Jinan is his son. No matter how angry he is, he won't beat him to death. But Dad and Grandpa are very disappointed. Sai, I have my own pursuits, but you must warn me not to do anything illegal. Since I'm not a soldier anymore, it's not a bad idea to start a business with you." In her previous life, Li Jinan had been too arrogant. He had made too many enemies and had been hunted down several times. Every time the news reached home, the old master and Li Xiao were unable to restrain their anger, but at the same time they were greatly disappointed. If Li Jinan didn't engage in such shady business in this life, he probably wouldn't have to deal with so many problems. Chapter 460. After resting at home for a day and playing chess with Grandpa, Su Qianxi went to bed early. Early the next morning, Su Qianxi was in a daze when she felt a big hand moving around on her body. She moaned and took his hand away. However, that big hand became even more naughty. It reached out and gently scratched her waist. Su Qianxi was ticklish, and being scratched she couldn't help but chuckle. Holding his big hand, Su Qianxi couldn't help laughing and said, "Don't play." Li Xiqing smiled, helped her up and helped her take off her clothes. "Get up. We have something to do today." "What is it?" Su Qianxi opened her eyes in a daze. Unprepared, her shirt was taken off by him. He was not wearing a bra. Su Qianxi suddenly shivered, covered her chest and resisted. No. Li Xiqing didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Poking her nose, he handed her the clothes he had prepared. What are you thinking about? Put it on. Su Qianxi was embarrassed. Blushing, she took the bra and gave him a stare. Seeing this, he leaned over and whispered, if you want, I can also. No. She pushed him away. It will hurt the baby. What are you thinking about? I said I can help you put it on. Li Xiqing took the bra from her hand and put it on for her. Bending down slightly, he buckled it for her, almost hugging her. Su Qianxi blushed again and the blush spread to her ears and neck. Seeing this beautiful scene, Li Xiqing held his breath. He did not rush to step back but hugged her, his lips falling on her earlobe, gently sucking. Su Qianxi shivered and put her hand on his chest. Her throat made a low sound but she quickly bit her lip and whispered, didn't you say we have something to do today? I'll stop biting. He took the dress he had just prepared for her and put it on for her. Su Qianxi was also wearing it. With a smile on her face she muttered, I'm just pregnant. It's not like I can't take care of myself. You dress me every day. What if I can't find my own clothes in the future? Then I'll help you wear it until you're old. Li Xiqing rubbed the tip of his nose against hers and kissed her on the lips. Now Mrs. Li, please raise your hand and put your sleeve on first. Yes, Mr. Li. When she put on her clothes and went out, she found it was already past 11 p.m. No wonder he came to wake her up. After eating something to fill his stomach, it was time for lunch. Li Jinan had stayed in the hospital for the entire day yesterday. He was much better today. In the past, Li Jinan always wore thin clothes. Today he looked especially bloated and his face was a little pale. Seeing Su Qianxi, he greeted, sister-in-law. Uncle, let's eat. Li Jinan smiled and raised his hand. It was a bit difficult for him to pick up chopsticks, so he inhaled and ate. Why didn't you stay in the hospital for a few more days? There are nurses there to take care of you. It's too inconvenient to go home so soon. Chapter 461. Li Xiqing stuffed the food into his mouth and his eyes flashed with displeasure. He poked Li Jinan's mouth with chopsticks. Li Jinan shrank back from the poke. He looked innocent. That's so cruel. Su Qianxi couldn't help saying, but then she realized it was inappropriate and looked around. My parents, grandpa and brother went out together today and will come back in the evening. Li Xiqing put another mouthful of rice into Li Jinan's mouth, rude, and asked, what else do you want to eat? Li Jinan's mouth was full and he shook his head bitterly. Su Qianxi couldn't help but smile watching them while eating. Lu Sa came in after watering the flowers. Seeing Li Xiqing feeding Li Jinan, she was so shocked that she almost dropped the watering can. After putting it back, she said, Li Xiqing, let me do it. You go eat. Didn't you say you were going out? Li Xiqing immediately handed over the bowl and chopsticks. Li Jinan also breathed a sigh of relief and glanced at Lu Sa gratefully. Jesus. Although it was an honor to be fed by Li Xiqing, the way he did it was too rude. Li Xiqing went to his seat to eat, but after a few bites he suddenly looked up and said, Honey, I want to eat that. He pointed to the food not far from Su Qianxi. Li Jinan finally swallowed the mouthful of rice and rolled his eyes. Su Qianxi knew that he was bothered by the way she was going to feed Li Jinan. Pursing her lips, she secretly smiled, picked up a piece and put it to his mouth. Li Xiqing opened his mouth gracefully and glanced at Li Jinan. Li Jinan gave him a contemptuous look. Don't you know how to show off your love? Li Xiqing did not mind at all. He opened his mouth again and put the chopsticks that Su Qianxi handed over, satisfied. After dinner, Li Jinan was helped back to the room by Lu Sa, and Li Xiqing took Su Qianxi to a nearby mall. What are we going to do? Go shopping. Li Xiqing seemed to be in a very good mood. He parked the car and took her upstairs. Su Qianxi didn't realize what he wanted until she was taken to the maternal and infant level. The child is only slightly more than a month old. So soon? Not soon, only 8 months. In fact, Li Xiqing simply wanted to help the child pick out some nice clothes. After the new year he would probably be very busy again. The smile on her face widened as she took his hand and walked into a shop. Children's clothes were very, very small. Su Qianxi picked one up and felt that the clothes were incredibly small. She asked, Newborn babies are so small? The salesperson walked over politely and began to introduce the products to her. In the end she asked, "Do you want to buy a boy's or a girl's? We have clothes from birth to 3 years old." "Both." She found that they were all in the pink color of a little girl. "We have twins, one boy and one girl." Su Qianxi was shocked and excited. "How did you know?" "You said it." Su Qianxi heard that and her excitement died down. She pouted and said, "I was dreaming. Dreams will come true." Li Xiqing came over and rubbed her hair. A pair of cold and deep eyes gazed at her with deep affection. His red lips slightly curled. It was not a big smile, but his good mood was revealed. "It is said that the dreams of pregnant women are the most accurate. Must be twins, a boy and a girl. Dash. Chapter 462. Li Xiqing did not want to talk to her. He took the car key and went to the driver's seat. The policewoman grabbed his clothes, a bit angry. "Mr. Li." Li Xiqing's expression did not change much. Looking at her hand, he said calmly, "This is Mrs. Li sitting in the car. I'm afraid it's not appropriate for you to sexually harass my wife in front of her, is it?" The policewoman did not expect him to say that and immediately let go of his hand. Her expression changed and she said, "Wait a minute." Then she took 2 steps forward and yelled, "Bring them here." Then she put her hand on Li Xiqing's car, not letting him go. The other police officers quickly brought the 2 suspects over. The policewoman said to Su Qianxi, "You were kidnapped last time. You should recognize the voices and body characteristics of the criminals. Take a look at these 2. Do any of them match the characteristics of the criminals?" Su Qianxi did not get out of the car. Looking at the 2 people for a while, she shook her head. "Not them. Why? The person who kidnapped me is at least 185 centimeters tall, very strong, and the muscle lines on his arms are very obvious. Obviously he exercises a lot. These 2 people are obviously less than 180 centimeters and the one is very calm." As soon as Su Qianxi said that, the policewoman subconsciously glanced at the 2 people. Obviously these 2 people were not very mature. Facing so many police officers and guns, they were already trembling in fear and looked like they were about to cry. The most important thing is that it was a woman who picked up the criminals. The 2 young people who were detained looked at Su Qianxi gratefully. One of them explained loudly, "I told you we were drinking. When we came out, the car was already gone." "Then why didn't you take out the keys when you were drinking?" the policewoman asked grumpily. "You forgot. Who has such a good memory? Then why did you cover the license plate number? If you did not do it yourself, why did you cover the license plate number?" "Who covered the license plate number? My license plate is so awesome. I can't wait to show it off. Besides, if I wanted to do something, would it be useful to cover the license plate number? This car is so special. Didn't you chase us for 9 blocks because you saw it on the road? Aren't we wronged? You police officers are incompetent and you're blaming us for driving? Shut up." The policewoman gave him a slap. "Take him back and interrogate him." Li Xiqing was already in the car. He said coldly, "If there's nothing else, please move aside. We still have business to attend to." "No, we let you go last time. This time you have to go back with us to make a statement. Mrs. Li, I hope you can cooperate with the police." Su Qianxi looked at the time and said, "How about tomorrow? Anyway, it's been a few days. There's no need to rush. We still have things to do." The policewoman was about to refuse when another policeman came up and whispered, "Don't make him angry. This guy is not to be trifled with. Quit while you're ahead." The policewoman was reluctant, but after glancing at Li Xiqing in the car, she stepped back. "Come to the police station tomorrow morning, Mrs. Li." There was no response, but she could only let them drive away. Chapter 463. He was driving steadily, holding her hand with one hand. "Scared? No, I just feel strange, as if someone is watching us. The police behind us. No, it's another pair of eyes. A pair of eyes has been staring at us since the beginning, but I just can't find where." Since she was reborn, her 6th sense had become more and more sensitive. Although she could not find the source every time she sensed it, something bad would happen. Feeling uneasy, she looked around and the feeling of being watched was getting weaker and weaker. She was more certain that the suspect the police were looking for must be at the scene. However, why didn't they find him? Lily couldn't get enough sleep these days. She had slept from 9 a.m. last night until 11 a.m. the next day, but she was sleepy again in the afternoon. Lying down at 3 a.m., she didn't slowly open her eyes until someone came to her side and started to make love to her. Ming held her and tasted her lips. Seeing that she woke up, he made love to her even more. Lily was in a daze, holding his neck with her hands. The fire in her body had been quickly ignited by him, almost burning her. Ming's body sank into her, holding her and swaying gently. Lily screamed and kept her waist up to meet his. This unconscious movement pleased Ming even more, which led to an even more violent attack. At the end, Ming took the initiative to use a condom, and Lily was sent down at the last moment. All her strength was drained and she collapsed under him. Ming took the condom down and there was a strange light in his eyes. He hugged her and said, Today is your birthday. Yeah. Lily was paralyzed but soon thought of something and reached out to pat him. Then why did you do it to me? How are you going to face others later? The corners of Ming's lips curled up as he carried her into the bathroom. While serving her in the shower, Ming silently counted the time. Lily noticed that he was absent-minded, reached out and splashed water on his face, shouting, Hey, what are you thinking about? Ming came back to himself, turned his head fiercely and pushed her into the bathtub. His big hands tickled her armpits and waist, whispering, Naughty, you are looking for trouble. Lily laughed, grabbed him uncomfortably and shouted, Go away, it's itchy, Ming. Ming snorted, pulled her up and helped her clean. Gritting his teeth, he said, I will deal with you at night. Lily held back her laughter and after washing she ran out. Lily picked out a fiery red dress for herself. It had a flat collar that covered her collarbone and exposed her shoulders. The sleeves were long, making her look mature, sexy and charming. Ming held her waist and lifted her chin with his well-defined fingers. He whistled and said, Why are you so beautiful? Just like a fairy. Lily smiled a little proudly. She touched the back of his head with her slender hand and winked at him, saying, I am a demon. Sooner or later I will suck your essence dry and let you die a horrible death. Chapter 464. Useless. Lily looked contemptuous. Don't you know if I am useless or not? As Ming spoke, his lips had moved down and he was ready to move. Lily pushed him and warned, Stop, we still have to meet people. Then don't seduce me. Ming took her hand and bit it. Let's go and meet people. Pulling her up, Ming put on the burgundy suit next to him. Lily was able to sit in front of the vanity mirror and put on makeup. After dressing up, when Ming was not paying attention, Lily took her phone into the bathroom and sent a WeChat message to Louis Han. Let's go. Qianqian and I are waiting for you. The other side quickly replied. Okay, we're almost there. Almost there, almost there. Lily couldn't help but smile. Holding the phone, she opened the door, hummed a tune and went forward to hold Ming's arm. Sco. Ming's eyes fell on her mobile phone and faintly he felt something was wrong. But he did not say anything and walked to the underground parking lot with her. Qingyu drove for more than 3 hours back to Kingstown. When she got home she lay in bed and collapsed. She didn't know how long she slept, but the doorbell rang. She covered her head with the quilt, but the doorbell did not stop ringing. She rubbed her hair and opened the door. At first glance she felt that she was going blind. Her first reaction was to close the door. However, it was blocked by Rong Rue and could not be pushed. She was angry and yelled, Are you King annoying? Why are you still haunting me? Rong Rue did not care but pulled the suitcase, looked at her house and nodded. It's quite clean. Qingyu noticed the suitcase in his hand and was shocked. She stepped on his suitcase. Wait, what the CK do you want to do? To find you. Rong Rue's face was not red, and he was not out of breath, as if he was saying something natural. I don't welcome you. Get out. Qingyu had really never seen such a shameless person. Didn't he know that others hated him? Didn't he know that she hated him to death? Did he really think she was joking? She sneered. By the way, I transferred the money to you. Did you see it? Yeah, Rong Rue responded. I transferred it for you too. Did you see it? When? 10 minutes ago. She snorted and turned to check her phone. Kingstown Bank prompts you that Rong Rue has transferred you 1,000 yuan, 000 yuan through mobile online banking. Qingyu was so shocked that she almost dropped her phone. Turning to look at him, she exclaimed, Are you crazy? Why did you transfer so much money to me? Rong Rui walked in with his suitcase and said, Rent, but I don't know how to cook, so you have to work hard, Miss Landlord. Bah. She threw the phone away, reached out and pushed him out, shouting, I don't agree. Get out. You are trespassing. I can call the police. But I've paid the rent. You can't kick me out. F*ck, I'll return it to you. Who the F*ck wants your rent? She picked up the phone and was about to transfer it back to him. However, the new phone had not yet been installed with online banking. After a while, Rong Rui had already opened the door and walked to her room with his suitcase. Hey. Qing Yu was so angry that she almost collapsed. Rong. Chapter 465. Rong Rui entered and looked around the room. There was a rattan chandelier hanging in the middle of the room, a laptop on a table, a pot of succulents and cactus next to it. On top of the table was a small 3-layer bookshelf full of books. Next to it was a medium-sized wardrobe matching the 1.2-meter European-style single bed, looking very elegant and clean. The furnishings and decoration of the living room were also very bourgeois, revealing the style of a mature and intellectual woman. Rong Rui glanced around and nodded. The environment is good, but the bed is a little small. She rushed in, pushed him out from the inside and roared, Rong Rui. I heard you. Don't be so loud. Rong Rui held her hand, smiling. Is there a guest room? Then he took the initiative to go out and turn to the next room. Next door was a utility room where all kinds of things that she did not usually use were placed. It was just that this room was about the same size as her bedroom, and the junk was just piled up in a corner. Rong Rui put down the suitcase, walked to the window and opened the curtains. Immediately some dust flew up. She simply ignored him. After installing online banking for herself, she immediately transferred the money back. Rong Rui turned and went to her bathroom, which had a fresh lemon smell. As soon as he went in, he saw a mirror with piles of cosmetics in front of it. Further inside he could see 2 glass cubicles, one for the toilet and the other for the bathroom. Very good, very clean. His cell phone rang and Rong Rui picked up his phone. Capital Bank reminds you. Qing Yu has transferred 1,000 yuan to you through mobile online banking, the balance. Rong Rui chuckled and his fingers moved quickly. Qing Yu had just finished and was about to drive him away when her cell phone rang again. This time Rong Rui transferred 2 million to her. She turned back angrily and after a while Rong Rui actually transferred 5 million to her. God, she was about to go crazy. She went to find him and found that Rong Rui swaggered out of the bathroom, still holding the phone in his hand. He looked satisfied. The environment is good. Take care of it in the future, Miss Landlord. Since you like this place so much, I'll give it to you. This house only costs a little more than 1 million. Since you gave me 5 million, I'll give it to you. I'll move out right away. You won't move away. Rong Rui looked at her. You won't move away. This apartment is a single apartment that Li Xiqing allocated to you. It belongs to the Li family. You are not qualified to transfer it. Qing Yu, now that you've taken 5 million from me, if you still chase me away, I can call the police and say that you're suspected of fraud. Qing Yu screamed and was about to break down. How can you be so F***ing shameless and unscrupulous? You were the one who delivered yourself to me. This old lady is cheating your sister. Girls shouldn't swear. It's not good. Rong Rui looked at her calmly. Get out. Qing Yu was so angry that her hands were shaking. She turned on her cell phone and was about to transfer the money to him. Rong Rui only glanced at her and said indifferently, if you transfer it to me again, I will give you 10 million. If you transfer it again, I will transfer 20 million. Double each time. Try it. Qing Yu wanted to laugh. Your card has no limit? And even if there was no limit, how could Rong Rui have so much money? Where did it come from? Chapter 466. Rong Rui glanced at her, looked calm and gently shook his head. No. I don't believe it. She turned again and Rong Rui's fingers moved on the phone and he was really entering the amount. Ding dong. 10 million was received. She only felt a pain in her heart. She wanted to turn back but found that it was the limit. Rong Rui glanced at her faintly, a little proud, shook the phone and said, You don't believe it? I can transfer it again. Enough. She wanted to die, feeling deeply powerless. She never dreamed that she would meet such a rogue. What was more terrible was that this rogue was not only capable but also King rich. Hey, all the money I have was cheated by you. Now I have no money and no home. If you kick me out, I will go to the police. How long do you think the sentence of 10 million will be? Rong Rue smiled and approached her. 10 years? 20 years? Or longer? She was scared by his sudden approach and shrank back. After finding that he was no longer coming, she sighed. I will go to the bank tomorrow to transfer it back to you. That won't work. I said if you transfer me 10 million, I will transfer you 20 million and so on. She was speechless. How rich was this guy? Wouldn't his parents beat him up for spending so much money? She took a deep breath and suddenly had an idea. Her fingers pressed a few times on the phone and she asked, but this is your money. I can't take it. You forced it on me and said that if I return it to you, you will sue me for fraud. This makes it very difficult for me. Rong Rue's eyes darkened and he took a step forward. She was scared and shrank back. Qingyu, I'm serious about chasing you. I'm serious about marrying you. Her heart was beating wildly, but she still forced herself to calm down. So, you broke into my house and gave me 10 million as rent. If I didn't take it, you would call the police to arrest me and put me in jail. You are so disgusting. Disgusting. Rong Rue raised his eyebrows, suddenly pushed her and said, when you forced me to sleep with you, you did not say that. When she heard this, anger instantly rushed to her chest and she yelled, Bah! Who forced who? You took me to the hotel, didn't you? That's because you need to rest. After entering the hotel room, you took off my clothes first, didn't you? I didn't. You do. You're clearly hinting to me that you don't have a boyfriend, right? Qingyu blushed. Then you took off my clothes and pants, didn't you? I don't want to, and you say that I'm pretending. Am I not? Get lost. In order to prove that I'm not pretending, I cooperated with you. Otherwise, do you think I'd like someone like you? Rong Rue looked contemptuous. Anyway, I didn't volunteer that day. Can you be any more shameless? Why not? Rong Rue grinned, got closer and said in a low voice, use this recording to call the police. Let's see who wins. Qingyu's eyes widened. Before she could speak, she was pulled by him. The back of her head was buckled and then her lips were sealed. Rong Rue took the phone from her hand and the kiss deepened. She felt a little uncomfortable and subconsciously stood on her tiptoes, which made him crazily invade her. Oh. Uncomfortable. Chapter 467. Rong Rue then let go of her. Looking at her blushing face, he straightened his clothes, turned around and picked up the things he brought. He found a paper bag, threw it to her and sat on the sofa. She subconsciously took it, a little dazed. Didn't you say you were going to a birthday party? Put it on. What is this? She asked subconsciously but quickly realized that this guy bought her clothes again. Turning it over, she found that it was a blue dress, a little thick, and the style was very special. She inadvertently glanced at the tag 8888. She put the dress back and threw it back to him. She said coldly, what do you mean? Want to conquer me with money? Oh. Rong Rue took out a cigarette from his pocket and put it in his mouth. He did not smoke it but looked at her with a serious face. I want to conquer you, but not with money but with people. Taking out a lighter and igniting it, Rong Rue spat out a mouthful of white smoke. Qingyu, this is the first time I have pursued a girl. Qingyu's heart was uncontrollably agitated, like a sponge swept by a gust of wind, with monstrous waves rolling and surging. But soon she sneered coldly. Do you think I will believe you? How can Tang Menjing feel when you say that? I have never pursued her. Rong Rue looked at her with a pair of amber eyes and said slowly, I have known Tang Menjing for 10 years, but she has never looked at me. In her heart there is only Li Xiqing, so I have never tried at all. Because you know it is impossible to succeed, so you think that people like me are easier to pursue and control, right? She looked at him strangely. Rong Rue, I really suspect that you are sick. The psychiatrist who contacted Tang Menjing is not bad. Should I introduce him to you? No, I never thought it was easy to pursue. Women like you are too proud. If I want to conquer you, I must be better than you. Rong Rue took a drag and slowly exhaled. Unfortunately, I happen to be a little better than you and you don't hate me. Why don't you try? Who said I don't hate you? I hate you so much that I want you dead. If you hate me, you won't sleep with me. He stood up and looked at her. Qingyu, you also like me, don't you? I'm sorry, I'm not interested in a man like you who still has another woman in his heart. I only have you in my heart now. What about Tang Menjing? Do you dare say that you don't love her? I don't. Rong Rue said without hesitation. She killed the previous Rong Rue and you saved the current Rong Rue. Her heart was beating abnormally fast. Looking at his affectionate eyes, she could not say a word of refusal. She didn't seem to dislike him that much. But, then do you love me? Rong Rue was stunned for a moment. Qingyu's eyes dimmed, and there was an indescribable sense of loss in her heart. Qingyu. Don't say any more. You can go. I will return the money to you. Qingyu walked to the edge of the sofa, picked up the phone that Rong Rue had just put down and said, I was confused that day. Forget it. Anyway, you are not the one who suffered. If I knew that I would be entangled by you because of a one-night stand, I would not have used you to f***cku. For so many days, there is not a day that I do not regret it, Rong Rue. Chapter 468. For so many days, there was not a day that I did not regret it, Rong Rue. Every word was terrifyingly calm. Rong Rue felt very uncomfortable and his heart was very uncomfortable. When he learned that she saved him, he decided to marry her. Maybe it was the bad nature of men. He did not love her, but he just wanted to conquer her. He wanted her to willingly fall into his hands, and then he would smoothly take her home as his wife. But hearing what she said, Rong Rue felt depressed again. She could yell at him, cry at him, and punch and kick him, but not like this. How could she regret it? How could she regret it? She took her phone and went into the bathroom. Locking the bathroom door, she felt sour in her heart. Inexplicably, she had an urge to cry. Looking at herself in the mirror, she had clean short hair and was wearing a stereotypical office lady outfit, not feminine at all. However, she was proud, powerful, and had high standards. She just did not like people like Rong Rue. So what? Bad luck. She picked up the comb and combed her hair, washed her face, and began to put on makeup. About 40 minutes later, she went out and Rong Rue was still sitting on the sofa. Why haven't you left yet? She was a little annoyed. Mr. Rong, can you be a little more shameless? Rong Rue did not answer her words, but threw the clothes he brought over to her. Put it on and let's go together. She took the clothes and threw them next to the trash can. With a sneer, she entered the room, opened the closet, and rummaged through the clothes. She found a fairly clean dark blue suit, locked the door, and began to change. When she came out, Rong Rue had disappeared. She walked around and made sure that he had left, picked up her bag, and walked out the door. When they arrived at Palace 1, it was already past 7 o'clock. When Su Qianxi and Li Xiqing arrived, everyone was already there. Yu Lili did not have many friends. She only invited Su Qianxi and Lu Yihan. The others were completely forced to come by Ming. Of course, he only invited the brothers that he and Yu Lili knew. At this moment, Yu Lili, Qingyu, Luo Zhan, Lu Yihan, and Ming were sitting on the sofa. Qingyu and Luo Zhan were singing It's Hard to Love by Anita Mui and Jackie Chung. Su Qianxi was pulled to the sofa by Li Xiqing and watched Yu Lili and Lu Yihan rolling dice. It didn't take long for Yu Lili to force Lu Yihan to drink 3 glasses of wine. Ming was smoking a cigarette and watching them play. After a while, the newly lit cigarette was put out by Li Xiqing. Ming was dumbfounded. Li Xiqing said lightly, There's a pregnant woman. Restrain yourself. It's not good for the baby. Ming was so angry that he laughed. He punched him angrily and scolded, You're going to be a father soon, so what? Li Xiqing was in a good mood. Curling his lips, he said, A little. Tea sour. Ming's face was full of disdain. Li Xiqing's eyes were even more curved and he calmly said, You're jealous. Su Qianxi watched Yu Lili and Lu Yihan playing. She climbed over Li Xiqing and sat down next to Lu Yihan. With a pair of sparkling eyes, she said, I want to play too. Hey, if you lose, let your husband drink. The next chapter was a very fun chapter, but it was stuck. I couldn't finish it before 12 o'clock. Send a notice and I'll finish it tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to work tomorrow. Go to bed early. Good night. Chapter 469. Is that okay? Yu Lili looked at Li Xiqing. Li Xiqing nodded. Su Qianxi took the dice cup from Yu Lily and said, "Don't worry, I will definitely not lose the most." Lu Yihan drank the most and his cheeks were already a little red. Hearing what Su Qianxi said, he laughed. "You are the luckiest every time. I will definitely be the one who drinks the most." Sure enough, after a dozen rounds, Lu Yihan lost 10, Yu Lily lost 6, and Su Qianxi did not even lose 1. Lu Yihan's face was red. After drinking the last glass of wine, he got up and went to the bathroom. Luo Zhan and Qingyu had stopped singing. They put down their microphones and Luo Zhan turned around and clapped his hands. "Look everyone. Today is such a happy day. Why don't we play something exciting?" "What's exciting?" Su Qianxi asked. Luo Zhan chuckled with a sinister look. "Truth or dare?" Hearing that, Qingyu glanced at him contemptuously. "How old are you? Still so childish." "You can't say that. I'm still a child." Luo Zhan shamelessly took out a deck of cards. "This is the truth or dare card that I worked so hard to get. Come on, let's play together." Su Qianxi blinked, looked at Li Xiqing and asked, "Honey, do you want to play?" "You want to play?" He never participated in Luo Zhan's retarded games. Su Qianxi nodded and took his hand. "I want to play. Let's play together?" "Okay." Yu Lily was also excited and waved at Luo Zhan. "Let me see what kind of cards you have." Luo Zhan chuckled and handed the cards over. Yu Lily casually flipped through 2 cards and exclaimed, "Damn Luo Zhan, you are so good at playing. Choose any member of the opposite sex to have sex for 10 minutes, and the selected member must not object. What position did you use during your first ML session? Is your current partner the person you love the most? Go and ask the staff for her phone number and book a room. Ha! This is fun, this is fun. Hey, oh, wanna play together?" Oh Ming, who was sitting behind her, had already seen the words on the cards clearly. "I have no objection. Anyway, you and I are a couple and second brother and sister-in-law are a couple. As for the rest, hee." Looking at Luo Zhan, he saw his sneaky look and knew what he was up to. So that was how it was. Oh Ming couldn't help but look at her and clapped his hands. "Come on." Just then the door to the room opened. Everyone's eyes gathered there. Rong Rui's expression did not change. He glanced at Qingyu and walked straight inside. When she saw him, her face changed. "You, happy birthday," Rong Rui said without sincerity as he handed a gift to Yu Lily. Qingyu was immediately speechless. No wonder when he was at her house he said he wanted to go with her. It turned out that he did not want to pester her but came to Yu Lily's birthday? In fact, Yu Lily had seen Rong Rui once, but she did not have a deep impression of him. Seeing him naturally sitting next to Qingyu also did not speak, took the gift and thanked him. Qingyu leaned in the direction of Luo Zhan, somewhat disgusted with his approach. Chapter 470. Lu Yihan came out of the bathroom and found that they were all gathered together. He walked over, sat directly next to Li Xiqing and asked, "Ready to play a game?" "Yes, truth or dare." "Come and sit separately. Don't all crowd together." The sofa was circular, surrounding a large glass table. Luo Zhan divided the cards in his hand into 2 parts. One was truth and the other was dare. He broke them up and placed them on both sides of the table. A bottle was placed in the middle. The crowd was dispersed and everyone formed a circle. Lu Yihan did not care and said, "In this case, pregnant women first. Qianqian, you go first." Hearing this, Su Qianxi went forward and had a look. Who knew that her luck was not so good and she was the first one to get a look. Su Qianxi wailed, "Yihan, are you setting me up?" Hearing their intimate address, Li Xiqing felt a bit jealous and squinted at Su Qianxi, slightly warning her. Su Qianxi shrank her head, completely not knowing what had made him unhappy. Luo Zhan asked, "Truth or dare?" "Truth, dare is too exciting." Then she reached for the card and looked at it, blushing. "Can I change it to dare?" "No." Luo Zhan took the card from her hand, laughed and read it out. "Are you having a good sex life with your partner? How long is the highest record? How many times a night?" Su Qianxi was about to cry. She turned her head and pulled Li Xiqing's sleeve. "I don't want to play anymore." How could she say such a thing? Li Xiqing glanced at Luo Zhan very elegantly unbuttoning his cufflinks and asked, "Where did you get such a lewd thing? Don't tell me this is the content of all the books?" Of course, Luo Zhan had spent a lot in order to pick up a girl. However, how could she say such a thing? Luo Zhan did not change his expression and retorted, "Do you mean you want to be shameless?" Sister-in-law answered him. "Don't be afraid of him. It doesn't matter even if he is a second man. Say it." "Do I really have to say it?" Su Qianxi blushed, grabbed Li Xiqing's hand and looked at him for help. "Go ahead." With a smile in his eyes, Li Xiqing glanced at Lu Yihan. "It's not shameful." Lu Yihan avoided his eyes and took a sip of water. The back of his hand that was holding the cup was so tight that his veins stood out. Su Qianxi blushed and said in a low voice, "I can't remember the time. It should be half an hour or an hour." "How many times a night?" Yu Lily asked excitedly. 5, 6 or 7. "Is that 5, 6 or 7? 7, 8 times." He took a sip of water and cleared his throat. He punched him in the leg. "Of course not. Yes, after the shower I came again." Su Qianxi blushed even more. Covering her face, she leaned on the sofa and shouted, "Stop it." Everyone laughed and Lu Yihan also curled his lips, but it was a bit forced. Yu Lily clearly saw it and asked Su Qianxi to turn again. This time it was Lu Yihan's turn. Chapter 471. Luo Zhan took the card and read it out with a smile. Find a person at the scene to bang against the wall for 3 minutes. The more he read, the more he felt a sense of crisis. At the scene, Yu Lily and Su Qianxi could not be touched. So only Qingyu was left? Oh my god. No, assistant Qingyu was his. Luo Zhan calmed down and said, "How about another one?" "No. How can this be?" Su Qianxi protested. "Why not me? You can change it for him?" "That's right." Yu Lily echoed. "How can this be? You can't change it." Rong Rui straightened up and put his hand on Qingyu's side. It was not a big movement, but Qingyu's heart jumped inexplicably. Lu Yihan pursed his lips and said after a long time, "Then I will drink." "They finish it." Yu Lily took out the half bottle of whiskey and raised her chin provocatively. "Damn." Luo Zhan lost his voice. Qingyu was scared. "That's too cruel. Lily, this is not good." Su Qianxi said. After drinking half a bottle of whiskey she would be dead. Yu Lily did not think there was anything wrong and said confidently, "Well, if you don't follow the rules you will be punished." Looking for her? Wasn't it just banging against the wall? Wasn't it just ***? He was here. You can find anyone and the chosen person cannot refuse otherwise. Yu Lily slammed the bottle on the ground. "Finish it." Lu Yihan turned around with a painful look and then looked around the crowd. Li Xiqing held his wife in his arms. There was no expression on his cold face, but the warning was overflowing. Yu Lily looked at him with a pair of big eyes, but he knew what she was thinking about him. But she already had a boyfriend, didn't she? Lu Yihan finally looked at Qingyu. Rong Rui and Luo Zhan both looked at him with a warning look. She. Lu Yihan was in a dilemma. He reached out and scratched his head and finally pulled Luo Zhan next to him. Luo Zhan looked like he had seen a ghost. He was pulled and suddenly pressed against the wall. The crowd exclaimed. Luo Zhan only felt something soft pressed against his lips, and his whole person was stunned. ****, Rong Rui lightly reminded. Lu Yihan looked like he was in pain and stuck out his tongue. Luo Zhan had a disgusted expression on his face and clenched his teeth tightly. "The chosen ones can't refuse," Rong Rui said again. Was Rong Rui sick? Luo Zhan cursed in his heart, but he still kept his teeth closed. Finally, 3 minutes were up. Lu Yihan immediately pushed him away and turned his head to the side. Luo Zhan had the same reaction and both of them retched at the same time. Su Qianxi burst out laughing, grabbing his arm and laughing so hard that she almost cramped up. O Ming was the most impolite. He laughed the loudest and said, "Luo Zhan, if your old Luo knew what happened today he would break your legs." Yu Lily on the other hand couldn't laugh anymore. She looked at Lu Yihan's direction and picked up the glass of water. O Ming clearly noticed Yu Lily's strangeness and glanced at her. Then his eyes fell on Lu Yihan and his eyes suddenly became deep. Lu Yihan did not spit out anything and continued to spin the bottle. This time it was O Ming. O Ming leaned over to pick up a truth card and threw it to Luo Zhan. Chapter 472. Yes, I do. O Ming did not hesitate and looked at Yu Lily. Yu Lily was drinking water, not knowing what expression she had. Ming quickly looked away, picked up the bottle and turned it again. This time it was Rong Rui who was still relatively unfamiliar to everyone. Rong Rui directly took a truth card and threw it to Luo Zhan. Luo Zhan was puzzled. Since when did he become a spokesperson? What is the most shameful thing you have done in your life? Unexpected question. Rong Rui was a little disappointed. He thought about it and replied, probably when I tried to please a woman, but was thrown out like a rag by that woman. Then he glanced at Qingyu. She pretended not to understand and sneered, so you deserve to end up like this because of Tang Menjing. She mentioned Tang Menjing again. Rong Rui was not happy and said calmly, Qingyu, you know who I am talking about. Something was wrong. Luo Zhan pricked up his ears and looked at Rong Rui, feeling very uncomfortable. Could it be that this guy had already gotten his hands on Special Assistant Qing? It shouldn't be. Qingyu was so difficult to deal with and had such high standards. Luo Zhan had not succeeded yet. Rong Rui had so many dark history. But Qingyu ignored him. Rong Rui continued to turn the bottle, and the next one was Li Xiqing. Luo Zhan waved his hand and said, don't choose truth. It's too boring. Choose dare. Hearing that, Li Xiqing's hand, which was about to flip dare, immediately turned to flip the truth. Luo Zhan asked, Dem, what is the most touching thing your partner has done? Li Xiqing looked at Su Qianxi. Su Qianxi bowed her head slightly. She did not seem to have done anything particularly romantic. Li Xiqing reached out and took her in his arms. His voice was low and gentle as he said, she is still alive. Just 4 words, but Su Qianxi felt a mix of emotions. An inexplicable throbbing burst out from the depths of her soul and instantly soaked her whole body. Su Qianxi looked up at his eyes. His eyes were extremely deep, like the vast starry night in the Antarctic, so bright and gorgeous that she was mesmerized. That's it. Luo Zhan was a little surprised. Okay, he responded in a low voice. Her eyes were already red and she hugged him back. Hey, don't be like this. The single dog is still here. Luo Zhan covered his eyes. Li Xiqing slightly pursed his lips and turned the bottle. This time it was Luo Zhan. Luo Zhan was a little excited. He rubbed his hands and chose dare. If he was lucky, maybe he could choose to have sex with the opposite sex, or do push-ups on the opposite sex. Then he would go directly to Qingyu. Just thinking about it made him a little excited. However, as soon as he picked up the card, Luo Zhan was stunned. Louis Han grabbed the cards and laughed. 5 minutes of coquettish moaning on the spot. Hearing this, the others also convulsed with laughter. Luo Zhan stood up angrily. That's not fair. Why can't I choose a partner for my dare? I can only do it myself. Besides, I've never done it before. How can I do it? Yu Lily started to make a fuss. It turns out to be an old virgin. Luo Zhan blushed and said confidently, What's wrong? This means that I don't do it. I am a very good man. Chapter 473. I don't care. Come on. Ming waved his hand. Do you want to be shameless? Luo Zhan felt his heart hurt and at the same time he felt cold. He sat down again and faced everyone's expectant or gloating gazes. He retracted his legs and leaned back on the sofa. His eyes were blurry and he crossed one hand in front of his chest. Biting his lower lip, he rubbed his legs seductively. Oh, ha 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 ha. Su Qianxi was laughing in Li Xiqing's arms. Li Xiqing also looked at Luo Zhan. Luo Zhan touched his head and let out a long and coquettish moan. It hurts my eyes. Enough. Louis Han couldn't stand it anymore and covered his eyes. However, Luo Zhan seemed to be deliberately against him and screamed even louder. What the hell? How can there be so many strange sounds? Ming waved his hand and roared. Enough. Don't hurt our ears. Yu Lily laughed and lay on the sofa, laughing so hard that her stomach hurt. Qingyu covered her mouth and laughed so hard that her whole body was convulsing. In the end, she couldn't help but fall sideways. Seeing her inadvertently leaning on him, Rong Rui smiled slightly and pretended not to know, looking in the direction of Luo Zhan. Seeing this, Luo Zhan immediately sat up, reached out and pulled Qingyu, saying, Okay, sit down. Don't fall. Then he took the bottle and turned it again. This time it was Yu Lily. Yu Lily was still laughing. Seeing everyone looking at her, she suddenly understood and said, Dare. Do all you can to seduce any member of the opposite sex except the target, and sit on the lap of the opposite sex for a round. Seduce. Yulili raised her eyebrows. Except the target? Yes. Su Qianxi heard that and said, how do you seduce? No, Ming said with a cold face, change it. How can you do that? You have to abide by the rules of the game or it will be boring, Luo Zhan said vindicatively. Sister-in-law, let's start. Who do you want to seduce? She stood up and looked around. Her eyes first fell on Li Xiqing. Su Qianxi immediately covered his face like she was protecting a child and yelled, no. Li Xiqing curled his lips, took her hand down and agreed, no. Yulili shrugged and walked toward Lu Yihan. Ming held her hand. His pair of peach blossom eyes looked at her as if they were dipped in poison. Yulili was a little scared, but this might really be the only chance. Yulili shook his hand off and said, it's just a game. Don't mind it. Lu Yihan saw her walking toward him and felt a little uneasy. She glanced at Ming and cleared her throat. Lily, do you want another one? For the time being, Lu Yihan could not afford to provoke someone like Ming. What if he misunderstood that she wanted to steal his woman? Yulili walked over and pushed his shoulder. She bent down and bent one of her thighs to kneel between his crotch. Such a sexy scene made Su Qianxi's eyes widen. Are you really going to do it? Chapter 474. Yulili also knew that she couldn't go too far, so she just stared at him for a few seconds. After noticing the shock and fear in his eyes, Yulili's red lips curled up, and she gently licked her red lips. She stared at him and then narrowed her eyes. Yulili. He couldn't stand it anymore, stood up and roared. She straightened up and turned her head. It's just a joke. Why are you in such a hurry? Then she sat on Lu Yihan's lap, took the bottle and began to spin it. This time it was Li Xiqing again. This time, Li Xiqing took the dare and threw it to Luo Zhan. Luo Zhan read the words on it. Feed your partner bananas. 10 minutes for one. Fortunately it was not a restricted level. Su Qianxi breathed a sigh of relief, but for some reason Yulili burst out laughing. Luo Zhan also laughed very unkindly. Eat bananas for 10 minutes, sister-in-law. Su Qianxi was a bit confused and said, what are you laughing at? Wasn't it just eating a banana? 10 minutes, one banana, 10 minutes. Luo Zhan rubbed his hands and soon went to get a few bananas. Come on. Li Xiqing glanced at him and said, your sister-in-law is shy. Why don't you let her feed me? No. That would be boring. Yulili shouted. Let Qianqian do it. I have not seen Qianqian eat bananas yet. Hearing their words, Su Qianxi suddenly realized and immediately blushed. Li Xiqing slowly took a banana, quickly peeled it and said, come on. Su Qianxi blushed and stared at the banana for a long time. The countdown starts, sister-in-law. This one takes 10 minutes. Su Qianxi opened her mouth, put the banana in her mouth and took a small bite. However, although it was a small bite, it was already 1/10 of the banana. How could she eat it for 10 minutes? Don't stop, continue. Luo Zhan shouted. She chewed, looked up and down and took another small bite. The smile on Li Xiqing's face grew wider and wider as he whispered, you can take a bigger bite and spit it out if you can't finish it. Hearing that, Su Qianxi immediately understood what he meant and punched him. He opened his mouth and took another small bite. In the blink of an eye, less than 2 minutes had passed, but more than half of the banana was gone. Su Qianxi was a little anxious and said, aren't you bullying me? You won't let me stop. You want me to keep eating. How can I eat for 10 minutes? Sure, use another way. Luo Zhan chuckled. For example, swallow the rest in one gulp. Su Qianxi's face was red. Seeing the expectant expressions around her, she opened her mouth and slowly swallowed it. Yulili looked at the direction of Su Qianxi with interest. Suddenly she felt Lu Yihan move under her, and then something quietly rose behind her. Lu Yihan reached out and pushed her, his voice a little hoarse. Go back. Yulili turned her head and looked at him deeply. Just now she sat on his lap for so long and he did not have any reaction. Now Su Qianxi just took a bite of the banana and he actually... Chapter 475. Her voice was very low and only the two of them could hear it. Lu Yihan froze slightly, looked up, and knew that she had found out when he saw her expression. His face was burning, but he no longer stood on ceremony and pushed her. Young Master O, take her back. He raised an eyebrow and looked at her. Yu Lily snorted and walked back in the direction of O Ming. Only 5 minutes later, the banana in front of her was almost gone. Su Qianxi squeezed Li Xiqing's hand anxiously. What should we do? Li Xiqing bit off the last piece of banana and put it in his mouth. Su Qianxi's eyes widened, but before she could say anything he took her in his arms, clasped her head with his big hand and fed her with his mouth. Su Qianxi looked at him, opened her mouth and took a bite. He ate the rest and then put his lips on hers. From a light kiss he soon wiped out the banana in his mouth. However, he still did not let go but pressed her on the back of the sofa, his big hand around her waist, no different from usual. Provocative and wild. Luo Zhan, the single man, felt his heart aching and shouted, "Hey, hey, that's enough." Rong Rui subconsciously looked at Qingyu. He saw her looking at them, her hands intertwined and her face blushed. Seeming to notice his gaze, she turned her head to look at him. Seeing his amber eyes, she immediately looked away. Su Qianxi was kissed senseless. When he let her go, she was already panting and lying in front of him. Luo Zhan glanced at the time and was speechless. Just 10 minutes. He took her in his arms and whispered with a smirk, "How do you feel?" Su Qianxi looked up at him and patted him. "There are so many people," he chuckled. "Then we can continue after we go back and close the door." Su Qianxi's face was even redder and she covered her face. Li Xiqing smiled, stretched out his hand and turned the bottle again. The mouth of the bottle slowly turned and finally, it fell on Qingyu, the only one who had not won. She coughed and thought for a moment. Or, dare. Luo Zhan looked at her with sparkling eyes. Special Assistant Qing, truth has a lot of taboo topics. Let's play dare. You don't have a partner anyway, so don't be afraid. Qingyu originally wanted to choose truth, but after hearing what Luo Zhan said, she felt that it made sense. She reached out and grabbed a handful of dare. Luo Zhan took it excitedly and read the words on it. Choose any member of the opposite sex and kiss them passionately. As soon as he finished thinking, Luo Zhan suddenly felt that his life was bright. Heavens, spring is really coming. Happiness came too suddenly and he wasn't ready to deal with it. But wait, be more reserved, be more reserved. Luo Zhan looked at Qingyu with sparkling eyes. Qingyu's lips twitched. Looking at the words on the card, she clenched her fist and mercilessly knocked on his head. "Asshole. You tricked me." Luo Zhan held his head and wailed, but soon moved excitedly to her side and said, "No, you should believe that this is the fate that God gave us, right? I am such a handsome man by your side and God let you choose me. Qingyu, come on, ravage me. I am ready. I am willing." With that, he opened his arms to Qingyu with a heroic and stirring look on his face, but the smile on his face could not be stopped. Chapter 476. Qingyu looked at him, twitched her lips and punched him in the chest. "Go away. I'm serious." Luo Zhan wailed. "Really, Qingyu?" Seeing such a scene in front of him, Rong Rui's eyes were cold. Without saying a word, he reached out and pulled her over. Dumbfounded, Luo Zhan reached out to grab her other hand and said, "What do you want to do? So direct? Wasn't it too obvious to steal a woman? I should be the one asking you what you want to do." Rong Rui did not intend to back down at all. Looking at Luo Zhan, he said, "Qingyu has been with me for a long time." Luo Zhan was struck by lightning and blurted out, "Aren't you pursuing her?" Although the words were directed at Rong Rui, his eyes were looking at Qingyu. Qingyu's face was cold and she immediately wanted to get rid of Rong Rui's hand. But how could Rong Rui let go? Instead, he tightened his grip on her hand. Qingyu tried to take back the hand that Luo Zhan was holding, but Luo Zhan was not willing to let go. Qingyu frowned deeply and shouted impatiently, "It hurts. Let go, okay?" Luo Zhan immediately let go of her hand. Seeing the red marks on her hand, he looked apologetic. "Sorry, Qingyu, I didn't mean to." Qingyu looked at Rong Rui with a cold face. Seeing Luo Zhan let go, Rong Rui also let go. Two men fighting for a woman. The scene was a bit intense. Su Qianxi looked at their different expressions and sympathized with Luo Zhan. In fact, Rong Rui had already succeeded. However, were Qingyu and Rong Rui quarreling now? Qingyu picked up the card and looked at it. She smiled and reached out to take the half bottle of whiskey that she had just used to scare people. Everyone was shocked. Lily's eyes widened and she pressed the bottle and said, "Sister, are you serious?" "Really?" Luo Zhan was a good man, really a good man. Qingyu knew and knew his character. If she was still the old Qingyu, maybe she would really consider it, but now, she could not go to Rongrui. That guy wanted her to be with him. In that case she could no longer get rid of him. Rather than that, she might as well drink this half bottle of wine and let fate take its course. Taking the bottle, she removed the lid and poured it into her mouth. Luo Zhan was frightened and quickly grabbed the bottle from her hand. However, she had already drunk several mouthfuls and her face was red. Su Qianxi also stood up and said, "Well, it's just a game. Why so serious?" Luo Zhan held the bottle in his hand with a bitter face. He nodded repeatedly and said, "Let's not play anymore. In fact, it's not fun. This game is too wretched. I really don't know who came up with it." Qingyu chuckled and looked at Luo Zhan. "Isn't it your idea? I think you did it on purpose, didn't you?" Seeing her smile, Luo Zhan breathed a sigh of relief. Just as he was about to say something, he heard Rong Rui say, "Who said that? So many people didn't cheat just now. It's your turn to cheat. It's not very good." Hearing that, she turned to look at him. Rong Rui was looking at her with deep eyes. He stretched out his hand, took the bottle from Luo Zhan's hand, raised his head and gulped it down. Chapter 477. Slamming the empty bottle on the table, Rong Rui's cheeks were slightly red and he took a breath. His lips were bright red. "I apologize for what happened the day before yesterday." Then he walked toward the door. Qingyu looked at his back and asked, "Where are you going?" There was no response. "I'm going to have a look." Qingyu picked up her bag and chased after him. Luo Zhan felt that his sincere heart had been completely crushed into pieces by Rong Rui's scheming means. Luo Zhan clutched his heart and slumped on the sofa, looking up at the ceiling in despair. He sniffed and said sadly, "Did you hear that?" "What?" Su Qianxi asked cooperatively. "Oh." Luo Zhan wailed, clutching his heart. "The sound of my heart breaking." Rong Rui walked very fast. When Qingyu walked out, he was already gone. She ran all the way to catch up with him. When she saw his back, he had already entered the elevator. She hurriedly pressed the button and the elevator door was opened again. She gasped slightly, looked at him and walked in. Rong Rui drank a little too much and he finished it in one breath. The effect of the alcohol came quickly, and in such a short time, Rong Rui's face had already become red. Walking out of the door of Palace No. 1, the cold wind blew and Rong Rui's footsteps slightly swayed. Qingyu immediately went to hold him and scolded, "Why are you pretending when you can't drink? Is it interesting?" Rong Rui did not answer. Instead, he held her hand and looked at her with his amber eyes. But soon he closed them. "My head hurts." "Nonsense." Qingyu yelled at him and helped him find his car. The alcohol she had just drunk was too strong. At this moment, her footsteps were a little unstable and her head was dizzy. Rong Rui noticed her strangeness and took her car key. "Don't drive. It's dangerous. Take a taxi." Then he had reached out and stopped an empty taxi. Rong Rui was sent to the back seat by Qingyu. When she was about to leave, she was pulled in. Qingyu exclaimed, and when she came back to her senses, the door had been closed. Rong Rui told her the address, which was Qingyu's. After paying the fare and getting off, Rong Rui became more dizzy and so did Qingyu. Seeing the gate of the community where she lived, she was in a trance. Why did she bring Rong Rui over? Strange. Let's go. Rong Rui pulled her. His steps were not steady, but he still knew the way. Entering the elevator and finding her door, Rong Rui reached into her bag for the key. She was a little dizzy. After he took out the key, she suddenly felt something was wrong. "You still want to go in?" "I paid rent." Rong Rui chuckled and pushed her in. She was very dizzy. After being pushed by him, she obediently walked back into the room and fell down when she saw the bed. However, she felt a weight on her body and opened her eyes. It was Rong Rui. Rong Rui's face was flushed, but his eyes were clear. She was in a trance. Looking at him, she didn't know how to react and just stared at him blankly. Rong Rui leaned down and kissed her lips from behind. Their bodies fell down and they rolled on the single bed. Being kissed so suddenly, her consciousness suddenly sobered up and she immediately struggled. Chapter 478. After Su Qianxi and the others stopped playing, they went to eat. Luo Zhan was not in a good mood and deliberately quarreled with Lu Yihan. After a few words, the two of them began to quarrel with each other again. Su Qianxi looked at the two of them speechlessly while eating, picked up a piece of lobster meat and fed it to Li Xiqing. Oming saw Su Qianxi's action and glanced at Yu Lily. Yu Lily had just picked up a piece of meat and was about to put it in her mouth. Noticing Oming's gaze, she immediately turned the chopsticks. Come on, Oming ate with satisfaction, but saw Luo Zhan had become resentful again, looking at Lu Yihan. Come on, Lu Yihan was speechless and slapped him. F***ck off. Luo Zhan was slapped directly on the table and cried, there is no justice. Why can't a handsome man like me find a girlfriend? I finally fell in love with one, but she ran away with someone else. It's so unfair. Lu Yihan snorted, took a sip from the beer bottle and said, I don't have a girlfriend either. I am more handsome than you, taller than you and stronger than you. If you want to be single, I will be ahead of you. How old are you? 22 years old, a good time, and I am already 27. After crying, Luo Zhan suddenly looked up. How about we make do with each other? You can clean up and cook. I don't mind that you are a man. Okay. Lu Yihan ate the meat with his chopsticks, chewing, and said, one day you can change your personality and then come back to see if I am blind. What if you are lucky? Damn my face, this face, do I need plastic surgery? Do I? Luo Zhan pointed to his face and said fiercely. Lu Yihan held the bottle for a long time before nodding seriously. Very much. Luo Zhan said. I don't want to live, then go to hell. But I have not married yet. Give up. There are not many blind people in this world. Can't you comfort me? Lu Yihan also realized that his words might have been a bit harsh. He hesitated and said, in fact there are quite a lot of blind people. Luo Zhan almost flipped the table and left. Su Qianxi and Yu Lily were both laughing. Looking at the two of them, the two women exchanged a look. After the meal they soon parted ways. Luo Zhan and Lu Yihan both drank a little too much. After the two guys went home with their wives, the two brothers also hugged each other and stumbled on their way home. Lu Yihan patted him on the shoulder, his drunken face full of righteousness. We are all in the same boat. I'm having an affair. Lu Yihan couldn't help but laugh. Have you ever been educated? Tisk, so what if you know ancient poems? I also memorized them when I was in primary school. Seriously, you've lived for 27 years and you really haven't had a single girlfriend? No, what about F***ck? When Luo Zhan heard these two words, he immediately recovered and shouted, F***ck, that kind of thing, I don't even want to touch that kind of thing. If his mother knew, she would definitely break his legs. Tiske, I really suspect that you are gay. Stay away from me. Then she reached out and pushed him away. Luo Zhan did not let it go and stuck to her again, tiptoeing and forcing himself to put his shoulder. I also suspect that you are gay. You are so handsome, why don't you have a girlfriend? Finally admit that I am more handsome than you? A little bit. Tiske, you haven't answered my question. Well, there is a girl, I have loved her for 8 years. She doesn't like you? No, I have not told her. Lu Yihan looked into the distance, a bit absent-minded. She is so simple that she is a bit stupid. If I do not tell her, she will not understand. Hey, you think I can't see that you like the wife of your second brother, right? That girl for 8 years is Su Qianxi, right? How do you know? Come on, you are not blind. Whenever you are free at night, you stare at her and ask her first before you do anything. Even a fool can see that. Is that so? I am used to it. It used to be like this. She used to say that I was her best friend. Poor. Luo Zhan looked sympathetic. Why didn't you confess? Maybe if you did, she would have chosen you. Hearing that, Lu Yihan was dazed for a moment and then smiled bitterly. My family is poor and I wanted to wait until I had my own career before pursuing her. I did not expect that she got married so soon. Chapter 479. Okay. I'm home. You can go back. Luo Zhan waved at him, reached into his trouser pocket and suddenly stopped. Seeing his reaction, Lu Yihan asked, What's wrong? Luo Zhan searched several pockets and said with a desperate look, I don't seem to have the key. Louis Han looked at the time, and it was already past 12 o'clock in the morning. So late. Can you find a locksmith? There are no hotels nearby. How about staying at my house for a night? Your house. Well, I'll pay you back for taking me in for one night last time. Humph. Let's go. Luo Zhan paced, his movements neither fast nor slow. When he arrived at Louis Han's house, Luo Zhan realized that the distance between their houses was very close. It took less than 10 minutes to walk. As soon as he entered the door, Luo Zhan was amazed. From the entrance there was a shoe cabinet which was neatly lined with all kinds of beautiful sneakers and leather shoes. Further inside, the white sofa was as clean as new, with a fruit plate and a laptop on the coffee table. The white dining table was covered with an elegant tablecloth, and in the middle of the tablecloth, there was a vase with 2 green roses on it. It was very fresh, with a fresh smell and a fresh environment. On the wall of the living room there were photo frames. There were Lu Yihan himself, Su Qianxi his work partners, and Yu Lily when he was in his school uniform. Luo Zhan looked around and went into the kitchen. He found that the whole house was clean and spotless, and all the tableware in the kitchen was upside down on the shelf. Opening the refrigerator, Luo Zhan took a bottle of Coke and drank it directly. When he came out, he shouted exaggeratedly, "God, is this a man's house? You live alone?" "Yes." Louis Han glanced at his expression and threw the clothes he took from his house last time at him with contempt. "Do you think it's like your doghouse?" Luo Zhan took it and smelled the fragrance on the clothes. His expression was very complicated. "Compared with yours, mine is really a doghouse. And there was no comparison at all, okay?" Louis Han raised his eyebrows and said, "I'll clean up a guest room for you. You go take a shower first." "All right." Luo Zhan experienced the pleasure of being a guest. But when he was about to enter the bathroom, his phone suddenly rang with an emergency notification. "Warning, the prey has entered the net. Please retract the net." Luo Zhan raised his eyebrows and muttered to himself, "Finally." Then he shouted, "Louis Han, let me use your computer. Okay, just don't delete my stuff." Luo Zhan got the nod, immediately turned on the computer and directly entered the trap he had already set for that person. About 10 minutes later, Luo Zhan copied all the information and sent it to Li Xiqing before calling him. It was already past 1 a.m. and Li Xiqing seemed to have fallen asleep. It was a long time before he was picked up. Luo Zhan said quickly, "Do you remember the last time you asked me to find Tang Zhenghao?" Li Xiqing was originally sleepy, but he immediately woke up after hearing what Su Qianxi said. "Found it. Yes, he finally used that card. I just captured his location. He's in San Francisco, USA. Since that's the case, let's take away all of his available funds and spread the news." "So fast?" Luo Zhan was surprised. "She's pregnant. I don't want any more accidents. The sooner the Tang family is dealt with, the sooner I can be at ease." Although the Tang family had fallen, if Tang Zhenghao was left alone, there would be too many variables. Instead of being passive, it was better to take the initiative. Only by striking first could he smoothly control the overall situation, right? Luo Zhan knew him very well, so he nodded and did not say more. "Got it. Leave it to me." "Thank you." Li Xiqing said the last sentence, hung up the phone and tiptoed back to the room. Su Qianxi was sleepy. Feeling him, she subconsciously reached out and hugged him. Her breathing was still even and steady. Li Xiqing chuckled and reached out to brush away the stray hair on her forehead. She had already completely gotten used to his presence. How nice. Dash. Chapter 480. Su Qianxi had a good sleep, but it was not enough. It was definitely not a good feeling to be woken up early in the morning. Feeling that his hand was pinching her nose, she frowned and slapped him. However, she was caught firmly and lifted up. She opened her eyes with a pout. After seeing Li Xiqing, her head drooped again. "I'm so sleepy." "Sleep on the plane." Li Xiqing pulled her up. "We're going to the capital today. Did you forget?" "No, I'm not going. Let's go tomorrow." Then she burrowed into the quilt. Li Xiqing was speechless. "You will say the same thing tomorrow. Get up. I'll help you change." She put her arm on him. "I will vomit on the plane." "You told Rong Haiwei yesterday that you would arrive this afternoon. Are you going to break your promise?" Hearing this, she finally straightened up and let him help her take off her clothes. Li Xiqing tapped her nose. You're getting lazier. Although he said so, he still patiently helped her change. From the beginning to the end, she did not even look up. Done. Oh. She immediately opened her eyes, got out of bed and went to the bathroom. After washing, Li Xiqing had already prepared her bag and a small suitcase with a few pieces of clothing in it. Go. Wait for me. I'll put on some makeup. No makeup. Pregnant women should stay away from these things. But I look so pale. Look at my face. She complained. It's pale and yellow. So ugly. Not ugly. You look better than many people with makeup. Really? Really? Then I'll put on some lipstick. However, Li Xiqing walked up and took her lipstick away. Picking her up, he shouted, "Let's go. Eat first and then leave." She pouted, but she was not as strong as him, so she had to give up. After breakfast, Li Xiqing took a taxi to the airport. On the plane, Su Qianxi could not fall asleep and called, "Honey." The more I think about it, the more I feel that our children might really be twins. Last night, I dreamed that a little boy and a little girl came to play with me. They asked you to name them. Li Xiqing heard her words and turned his head. His face, which had always been cold, seemed to have a smile. I'll take it? Yes. She looked at him expectantly. Grandpa will definitely name them. You can give them pet names. Hearing this, Li Xiqing pondered for a moment. Su Qianxi could not wait any longer and said, "How about Li Debao and Li Erbao?" Li Xiqing was silent for a second and looked at her. Then baby Li Bebe? Su Qianxi changed another one. Isn't that what children usually have? Lie down and let me think about it. Obviously, he did not like the name she had given him. Puffing her cheeks unhappily, she threw the blanket away and turned her back on him. Li Xiqing smiled, leaned on the chair and thought. It took 3 hours to get from Kingstown to the capital. When they arrived at the Capital International Airport, it was already noon. Chapter 481. Be careful. Li Xiqing held her. Let's go down and talk. Su Qianxi was taken off the plane by him. After they took their luggage, they took a taxi to the hotel they had booked. The weather in the north was cold and the surrounding trees were all bare. Looking into the distance, all he could see was a stretch of gray. This was the legendary haze. Su Qianxi looked back and saw that Li Xiqing was actually searching for the children's nicknames. She took a look and said, "I thought of another one. Xiaoxi Xiaoqing." Xiqing. Li Xiqing chuckled, turned off the phone and said, "Xiao Qian Xiaoxi I?" Yes. Then Desu Ersu. No, uncle, it sounds so bad. The driver in the front laughed. Su Qianxi blushed slightly and patted Li Xiqing. Change it. We're here. Let's get out first. We'll talk later. Li Xiqing opened the door and took her out. This was a hotel. Li Xiqing carried their luggage and walked in with Su Qianxi. After the couple booked a suite and had dinner, they went to the home address that Rong Haiyue had given them. The place where Rong Haiyue lived belonged to the capital military area. The hotel they stayed in was the best hotel near where he lived. Su Qianxi and Li Xiqing bought some gifts before walking in that direction. Suddenly, Su Qianxi inadvertently looked back and saw a smooth and soft white BMW driving past. The profile of the driver's seat was extremely familiar. There was a bit of traffic on the road and the car was driving very slowly. Su Qianxi looked over and the person in the driver's seat seemed to feel her gaze and looked over. Rong Shen saw that it was her, slightly dazed, but quickly turned back indifferently and rolled up the window, blocking Su Qianxi's view. What's wrong? Li Xiqing saw that she did not leave and whispered. Do you see that woman? Su Qianxi pointed to the BMW. It's Rong Shen. Li Xiqing saw the car and his eyes suddenly became obscure. He gently pulled her. The Rong family is nearby. Go. Rong Haiyue was practicing shooting with his daughter in the backyard. When he received the call, he was pleasantly surprised. Anna, let's go. I'll take you to meet someone. Where to? Rong Anna put down the gun and followed. At the door. I'll bring them in. Rong Haiyue seemed to be in a good mood and walked quickly. Rong Anna hadn't seen Rong Haiyue so happy for a long time. The last time he was in such a good mood was a few years ago when her mother suddenly bought him a scarf. He's here? When Rong Haiyue opened the door, he saw Li Xiqing and Su Qianxi standing not far away talking. Seeing Rong Haiyue, he took Su Qianxi's hand and walked over to them. Mr. Rong. Su Chinsi called and looked at Rong Anna behind Rong Haiyue. Hello, Miss Rong. When Rong Anna saw Su Chinsi's face, she immediately recognized her. Her eyes were not big, but they were extremely charming. There seemed to be something different. She seemed a little surprised. It's you. Su Chinsi did not know if it was an illusion, but she felt that Rong Anna's eyes were a bit strange. Was it because she looked like Rong Xian? You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.